We're going to go ahead. It's 4 o'clock and call the meeting to order. We start with our Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please rise. Oh, wait, sorry. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is approval of a flexible agenda. Possible action. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Move to approve a flexible agenda.
Second.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 2, consent items. Okay, is there any, anyone want to?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent item.
Okay. Need a second?
I'll second.
Bob seconded it. Okay. Any public comment on consent items? Anybody online? No? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes again, 7-0. Thank you. All right, next we'll move to item number 3 on our agenda, and that's introduction and special recognition. And Superintendent Lewis, you're going to lead on this.
Thank you. We have lots of special guests in our audience tonight that I am fortunate I get to introduce to you as a board. I'd first ask that Leslie Peters, you can just stand up, we'll not make you come all the way to the front. So during the last April board meeting, the board approved the hiring of Leslie Peters as the next Assistant Director of Ed Services. Leslie has served the students of Lyon County School District as an administrator, instructional coach, and classroom teacher for 26 years. I often was in line in the coffee shop behind Leslie as she was heading off to Dayton early in the morning. For the past 5 years, Leslie has served as the principal of Dayton Elementary School. Leslie earned her bachelor's degree from the University of Nevada, Reno, and she earned a master's degree in educational leadership from Grand Canyon University. If Leslie looks familiar, there's a reason. She was born and raised in the Carson Valley and is a graduate of Douglas High School. Leslie and her husband Patrick are Douglas County residents and have raised their 2 beautiful daughters, Madison and Mackenzie, in the Valley, where they attended Douglas County schools from grades K-12. I was fortunate to have both of Leslie's daughters as a principal at Powelloo Middle School. I can speak to what amazing kids they are, adults now. I know tonight is extra special for Leslie, as you approved minutes ago the hiring of her daughter Madison, who will be coming back from Lyon County to become a classroom teacher next year at Minden Elementary. So I've always felt it would be great to have to get Leslie to return to Douglas County. So I'm very excited that while it took 26 years, we finally have the opportunity to hire her. And I know she's going to be an amazing addition to not only the district, but to my team at the district level as well. So I'd like to introduce Leslie Peters.
Thank you.
And there's Madison right there. Go ahead and take a bow, Madison. I didn't recognize you at first. Crespin Esquivel, will you please stand? So I'd like to next introduce Crespin Esquivel as the next principal at Minden Elementary School. Crespin has served the students of Douglas County for the past 12 years. Over the past 3, he has served as the assistant principal at Jacks Valley Elementary. Prior to that, he served as for 9 years as the principal of George Wattell High School. During his 23-year career in education, Mr. Esquivel has also worked 11 years within Washoe County School District as an ESL teacher, Hispanic liaison, dean, and assistant principal. Crespin earned his bachelor's degree in secondary education Spanish from the University of Nevada, Reno, and he earned a master's degree in educational leadership and supervision from the University of Phoenix. Crespin made the commute, having been raised in Winnemucca, Nevada. He made the commute to Reno for school and then often back on the weekends to work at the family or work at a hotel there in Winnemucca. Crespin's wife, Danielle, who is here with us tonight, and his sons, Lucas and Mateo, is also a teacher at Douglas High School, and they are proud parents of these two. Lucas has just made the decision to attend Syracuse University in sports analytics next year. So we're excited for him as well. And believe it or not, Mr. Esquivel is only the third principal in the 26-year history at Minden Elementary, following Claire Pirtle and Ken Stoll. So talk about a school that's had some consistency in leadership. That has been one of them. So we're excited for Crespin to have this opportunity. And I know that I can speak for the staff at Minden Elementary that they're excited as well. So congratulations, Crespin. Mr. Mark Walling. So I'm also excited to introduce Mark Walling as the new Executive Director of Assessments, Grants, and Progress Monitoring. So he may have the longest title in the district. We call it AGPM for short. Mark is currently the principal of our Lake schools, which include George Whittle High School and Zephyr Cove Elementary School. Mark is also a proud product of Douglas County and a graduate of Douglas High School as well. Mark started his educational career and spent 13 years at Douglas High School, 9 of those years as a math teacher and 4 as the Dean AD. During his time at Douglas High School, Mark also served as the varsity baseball coach and coached within the football and cross-country programs as well. Mark is also the proud father of 2 young boys who are also students in the Douglas County School District. Mr. Walling is a University of Nevada, Reno graduate. We got a lot of Wolfpack people here, and has earned a master's degree in math education from Western Governors University and a second master's degree in educational leadership from American College of Education. Mark will officially start his new role on July 1st, but based on the shoes he is filling, we're already working hard for a smooth transition and finding time that Mark can meet with Brian before he assumes the role. So congratulations to Mark Walling. And last but not least in this round is Mr. Sean Ryan. So Sean will be returning to the Lake schools as the next principal following Mark. As many of you know, Sean served as the assistant principal at our Lake schools during the 2019-20 and 2020-21 school years. Over the past 2 years, Sean has served well in a variety of assistant principal roles. Currently, he is serving as the assistant principal at Gardnerville Elementary School and Douglas, Nevada Online. He has also served in the same role at Pinion Hills Elementary School at the start of this year. Sean deserves significant kudos for his great work with Douglas, Nevada Online. He played a vital role in helping us get our feet underneath us when the school opened with 900 students at the start of the 2020 school year. He is a problem solver, a great communicator, and an out-of-box thinker, all traits that have served him well in whatever role he has played. Prior to his 3 years in Douglas County, Sean worked in the Washoe County School District as a dean, and he served as a teacher in Washoe and Lyon County. Sean earned his Bachelor's of Science in Recreation Management from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, a teaching certificate from Sierra Nevada College, and his master's degree in educational leadership from the University of Nevada, Reno. So congratulations and welcome back to the Lake, Sean Ryan. And I will officially introduce her next month, but tonight on your personnel report, we also approved the hiring of Valerie Bayard Del Volo as the next principal at Carson Valley Middle School, and she will be here in person for me to formally introduce next month. So lots of hiring going on.
Thank you, Superintendent Lewis, and congratulations to all of you. We're very excited for you. Our next agenda item is the Nevada Association of School Board NASB report, and Heather will tell us about this.
Okay. It's been a busy month with NASB. We've actually had several emergency meetings. I've spent many of my Friday nights and every other night on meetings with them. We're still in the process of hiring a new executive director. So if anyone knows anybody interested, it's a great position to help all of Nevada and the things that we need in our schools and helping all the school boards. The reason we've had emergency meetings is because the education committee is working right now, which was appointed during the during the last legislative session, and they are talking about whether we should have school board members be appointed or whether they should be elected. And so they're right now in the process of just having discussions and learning and getting background information. They've had several bills that have been brought up in previous years, and it looks like, again, this year they're going to be working and talking about that. They have given NASB a seat on that committee and have asked NASB to present. And so we have had emergency meetings to figure out who we want to have represent us, what we want to, to push for and move for going forward. So that is a hot topic right now of whether those would be, if they would still be elected officials or if they would be appointed, if us as school board members. So something to be aware of. I also attended a training on the state laws governing discipline. And Linda came with me, and it was very, very good. It was put on by Ann Alexander from Poolpack, and she explained the history of how discipline has been implemented through the schools and the laws that govern us in that. And there was a lot of talk of the newest laws that said that they have to be over 11 in order to be expelled, and some of the different things to go along with that. And it was really good because she actually showed how we still have a lot of room in our discipline, and it's not as governed by the state as we think. And so gave us some different possibilities. And then it was really neat, different ideas of where we need to move going forward and what we should be pushing the legislature towards, and what the questions and concerns we have with that are. So it was very, very good, very informational. And I believe that's all I have for right now.
Thank you, Heather. Next, we'll move on to our board reports. And these are updates from the board regarding district activities that they've attended or meetings that they've attended. It's their chance to report out on some of the things. We try to keep them brief, but yeah, we'll go ahead. And Heather, I guess I'll start with you if you don't mind.
Hey, let's see. We had some grading committee meetings. We're going to have a report on the grading committee tonight, and so I did visit that or go to that meeting. I also went to the Zephyr Cove and the Scarcelli Elementary fundraisers, and those were really neat and well attended. And at the Scarcelli one, I won the gardening basket, and so my kids have been having a blast planting all the seeds. And but that's one we've always enjoyed and been a part of as my kids went through there. So yes, I do. I have a new wheelbarrow, and we've been getting lots of use out of it. And not the kids riding around in it, actually using it with dirt, but that's good. Then the other thing I wanted to share is today I was at Scarcelli for one of our fourth grade teachers, Miss Alyssa Parks. There were people there filming her class. They were actually making a video of her teaching, and then that is going to be just can take online. Really just a neat experience. I'm not going to pretend for a second that I'm an expert on this at all, but I want to give you a few of the little details about it. It's called the Right Institute. So what they do is they take a source from the Library of Congress. So like an actual Library of Congress source was a map of Nevada from 1866. And she shows it to the class, and she has them make observations of it. Oh, there's different colors on it. Oh, the state is a different shape than it is today, and just some different. They get in groups and they start writing down questions. What are some questions you have about this? And they write all these questions, and that helps them formulate what they're going to learn about this. And it was really cool. So the part that I can tell you that I know is those kids were all fully engaged. They were excited to learn, and they were working together as groups as they were talking about, well, what do you see? And what, what is this question? And, what does this mean? Why is this on there? And it was just really neat to see them so excited about the learning process and being a little more in control of what they were learning and what interested them. And then it was really cool because they have different, and I'm sorry, I'm taking a few minutes, but it was exciting. But it was really cool because then they have these different questions they've written down, and they determine what are questions that just have like a yes, no answer or a very short answer, and what ones take a lot more thought. And then once they figure that out, they have to change their questions to the other type. So it was just really neat seeing them working through the process of what is a good question and how can I find answers to these questions, and working together in their groups. And so it was neat. That's not, it's not a required thing that all of our teachers do, that they use this question formulation technique, but it goes right along with EPIC and helps the kids to be more in control of their learning. So. Sure.
Thank you, Heather. Excuse me. Thank you, Heather. Tony.
I attended the construction committee and the physical improvement of all of our schools. And of course, some of the schools are getting some age on them. So we're going to replace some carpeting, some sidewalks. We have some roof issues we're going to take care of. So be aware that we are going to be doing some construction and some improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Ross?
And I was also at that meeting, and the other thing that I think we're doing tonight is we're approving our 5-year capital improvement plan that we set forth.
Okay. That it? Thank you. I've got it down here, not to worry.
Then I won't do it.
Oh, no, please do. I'm just crossing mine off. Sure, thanks.
I was able to do some personal visits to some schools this month. Just a few, but I went to Jacks Valley, Pinion Hills, CC Manili, and Pawalu, and got some great tours by the administration, and appreciate every minute. And it was a good experience to get through the halls of all the schools again. I was on the DCSD strategic plan committee. We just did it 4 years ago, and we just had a new one, and it had a very good vibe to it. And I think it really was a productive session. Scarcelli Art Show. I had my eye on the wheelbarrow, just so you know. And then just last night, the DPAC committee meeting, and although I got there late, there was a parent engagement conversation about what they do to get parents into their school, review of student networks, and I was there for the input on an administrative regulation 521, which is dress code, which was quite engaging. And finally, Mrs. Cronin-Mack did a very informative EPIC learning update.
Thank you. Carrie, Rob?
Also went to strategic plan. That's a very important one you're referring to.
Oh, you're my.
Went to the strategic planning meeting. That was good. It was good to be involved with a lot of people from the community. Most of the people involved were not from the school district. They're representatives of the community, probably about half. So I was with somebody from Parks and Rec, with a parent, with I think a business owner, and identified a lot of the strengths and weaknesses and potential that our district has. That was good. Also part of the grading committee, which we will talk about later, which has been good. And I have, I guess, become the official drone photographer for Minden Elementary School. Yeah, the new principal's nodding his head that this is in fact true. So they had their walkathon this last Friday. And prior to that, they all came out in different colors and they made a rainbow on the ground, took a picture of them. They do a bunch of different things. A few months ago, they spelled out cut and talked about it. And they do a great job. The new principal, Mr. Escobar, was there running the show on Friday, and that was good. So it's always good to get over to Minden when they're doing those fun and engaging deals with their students.
Thank you, Rob. Doug, our world traveler.
I also attended the grading committee meeting and the construction committee meeting. And then I had the opportunity this last month to meet with 4 principals from Douglas High School, from Aspire, from Carson Valley Middle School, and from Pawalu. And then I had a chance to have a forum with about 8 or 10 teachers from Douglas High, which was a really good chance for us to share ideas and concerns. So that's what I was up to.
We're busy in that time you were gone. Good job. Thank you. For myself, I attend the chamber coffees where I give those members updates on our school district and what's going on. I also attended an employer group meeting where we'll have a change of command. We're going to have Karen Lamb as the president. Is she called president of that or? Okay. As Robin, who served for quite a few years, is going to step down. And then we have Trish Mitchatarian, who's retiring. I also attended the Family Life Sex Ed AIDS at Minden Elementary School. And that was interesting. There were handouts, and it was for the 4th and 5th grade, unlike the one last time, which was for the younger kids. So it was very good. Very good, excuse me. I attended the Gardnerville Elementary School. They have an advisory counselor meeting, and I attended that along with some parents and teachers. Sean DeVasey is the counselor over there, and she really does an amazing job. She uses a lot of, and I know Heather has told me about this, she told me as well. And she uses a lot of data and things to formulate what her curriculum is over there for PBIS and things like that. So that was very informative too. Let's see, we did, attended some expulsions. Also attended the NASB training with Heather, and I won't get into that. It was just a very good training. In this month, actually, May 10th, I met with Carol Aldax and another lady from the community, and we read 29 scholarships. It's the Douglas High School Memorial Scholarship. And we awarded, and names were all redacted, so we had no idea who we were choosing. But we were able to pick 7 scholarship winners, and they each will receive $3,000. And Thursday night is actually the scholarship night at Life Point.
Tomorrow night.
Oh, it's Wednesday. I'm sorry. It's the 18th. I knew it was the 18th. Today's 17th. Sorry. Also attended the fundraiser at Zephyr Cove Elementary, and that was fun. We were at a beautiful place up there, place I would have never will be again, I'm sure, but it was just amazing. I also on the 11th got a chance to be a chaperone for a field trip with Marty Swisher and his GT kids. And boy, I haven't been on a field trip in a long time. I was exhausted. Anyways, we went to Douglas High School and we visited the CTE classes, the welding. Oh my gosh, I've not been in there. And it just blew me away what those young people are learning. It is amazing. If you ever get a chance, that's the place you'd love to go see. Let's see. Also, we went out to the Conservancy with the GT kids as well, out on Genoa. And then we attended the strategic plan that was already mentioned. I also attended the art show. I didn't win anything, which is fine. It's always good to donate. Agenda review. And then I also went over today to Scarcelli. Fortunately, I live very close, so I could run over, and I observed some what you were talking about, Heather, and I got to see the second half after lunch of them doing the next phase of the questions, things like that. And it was very, very interesting, and wow, the kids were very engaged. And then tomorrow I was appointed to a state level. It's called Teachers and Leaders Council, and I'll be attending my first meeting tomorrow, and I will tell you more about it at the next meeting. And that's my report. Thank you. Do we have any correspondence from anyone that they wanted to share on the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. The next item is called Good News, and this is where we share good news, recognizing you've already done some of this with our employees and students and things. Originally, it started out where I wanted to do this, and it was kind of just me sharing, but there's just so much good news in our district that I like to open it up to anyone on the board that knows something and would like to share. In this case, though, I will start first. Oh, we have a video to show too, don't we, John? All right. Hang on one second. We'll get to that in just a minute. Okay. A couple of things I wanted to share with the good news was with our softball team, our girls softball team. They're ranked second in the state, and therefore they go down to Las Vegas to compete. I think it's Friday. Question? No. Thursday, Friday. Thank you. Okay. Okay, perfect. They look like they've got a very strong team. Another good news that was shared to me by Mrs. Cronin-Mack, thank you, Rami, was Ella Schweitzer. She's ranked number 2 in the state for the high jump. She did a personal record of 4 feet, 4 inches, which is almost as tall as me. And she also will attend state meet, and it's in Sparks, Nevada. And then the last thing I had to share was this little video. It's from Vivian Michalek. Let me just set the stage here. Let me see this. This is a program that she's one of our epic coaches at Manili. And she sent this to me that they put together an event. It's called Project Recharge Battery Recycling. You may have seen it if you get the Record Courier or read online. It was in there. And she received some information that says, we would like to formally announce that out of more than 75 student projects being submitted for the Project Recharge year-end event, your student's project, Battery Recycling, has been selected as one of only 10 projects to be presented to the whole group. Thank you so much for your hard work. On this past Wednesday, they were going to practice, but then the event is actually, I have a flyer here. It's actually tomorrow, Wednesday, May 18th from 4 to 6. It's up at TMCC, or you can zoom in if you'd like to see the event. And I do have a flyer if anyone's interested. We also have a very short video on this, I believe. Thank you, John.
All these things have in common? Batteries. This isn't just one classroom with only six kids.
Imagine all the batteries in just one school.
These everyday devices have lithium-ion batteries in them, which can be recharged. But once they reach their end of the life, you shouldn't throw them away. You should recycle them. Don't throw that away. Recycle it. Even these household items have batteries in them too, and you should totally recycle them instead of throwing them away. Don't throw away that remote, recycle it.
Even toys have batteries. Check them and recycle those batteries too. No, don't throw that away. Recycle it.
I'm Sophia. I'm Nalani. I'm Chloe. I'm Trisha.
And I'm Jonah.
And we're the Student Sustainability Club. Please recycle your batteries.
I'd like to thank Vivian for all her hard work in this. Does anyone else have any good news that they would like to share?
I'll just piggyback on what you already said with the softball team. When the basketball team won region, the sheriff met them at the county line and escorted them back into the county, and he did the same for the softball team. And I know my son loved it with the basketball team, and I'm sure those girls on the softball team loved it too. Getting a police escort back to school is a pretty cool thing after winning. So good job to our sheriffs.
That's awesome.
I would just like to add, in addition to our softball team, this has been quite the week of trying to navigate travel plans for a variety of groups. We have several track and field athletes that have made state. Will participate in Reno next week. We have several swimmers and a few divers that will be participating in the state swim and dive meet in Las Vegas. We're sending one high jumper who's ranked second in the state from Whittel to state as well. So it's been a banner year really for athletics across the district, and it's kind of fun trying to figure out how we're going to get bigger teams through charter buses. Some we send on Suburbans. It's quite the transportation matrix to figure out, but I think we got it all figured out, and we're sending lots of kids to compete at the state level next week.
That's awesome. Thank you. Heather, were you going to add?
mentioned that track state, but we also have Pawalu and CVMS that are going to be competing in the NIVA Championship tomorrow at 3 at Carson High School. So I think we have a lot of athletes excited about that event too.
Wow, thank you guys for chipping in on that. Appreciate it. All right, next we have item number 8 on our agenda. It's,
We have 4:30 yet, don't we?
oh, sorry, we have to stop. It's 4:30. Thank you, Ross. We have to do our budget. We have to do it at 4:30. So we're going to have Sue. I'm going to jump to, what item is it?
10.
Number 10. 10 on the agenda. We have to do the budget right because we sent it out, so we have to do it at 4:30. So we're now on item number 10. Thank you.
Sorry, Phil.
You just bumped Keith. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, the final budget that we are sending to the state, as is normally the case, the tentative budget that we approve in April often gets rolled right into the final. And we did make a couple of minor changes. We had a couple of positions that were not in the tentative budget, so that was added. And then we also, through our bus drivers negotiations and stuff, they're having a hard time communicating often to where they're able to, communicate with the yard and that sort of thing. So we are going to provide some cell phones for the bus drivers, and they should have those on their buses and be able to use those. So those were the only 2 minor changes that we made between the tentative and the final. So basically that is all there is for the final budget. That is, as you can see from the highlights, that's all that we added. Okay.
Does the board have any questions for Sue? Questions or concerns? Okay.
I know that it's a formidable document to actually
is.
go through. So, you just get to look at it and hope for the best. I just wanted to point out that the revenue that we used for both of these budgets was actually the revenue that the state approved through the PCFP funding. We don't even know how long that will continue with the same revenue stream, but that is what we have added into the budget. So.
All right. Thank you, Sue. So this is an action item. So I need someone to make a motion.
I'd move that we approve the tentative budget, the 22-23 tentative budget, and adopt it as the final budget for 22-23 school year.
Okay, motion was made. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on our budget? Or any? Nope. Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, Sue,
Thank
for all your
you.
hard work. Okay, Superintendent Lewis, we'll go back to you now. You're
Actually, we
Superintendent.
skipped Phil. We got to go back to 7.
Oh, no, that was good news. 8. I was on 8. Sorry.
Oh, we already skipped Phil.
We already skipped Phil. Sorry, Phil. You were the good news.
The bad news is you get to go.
We get to go.
Can't get away with that.
Item 8 is maintenance and project report. It's for information only by Mr. Phil Demas. Thanks, Phil.
Okay, so this summer, we're going to be doing several projects. We've been working on the window tinting project. All the valley schools are completed, and the lake schools will be completed by the end of before the beginning of next school year. We are completing an HVAC, the VAV retrofit at Jacks Valley. We are installing a new roof on the old gym. And if approved, we will be having a new roof coating applied to Scarcelli Elementary School with new snow fence and gutters. Starting June 20th, Garland Roofing will be moving forward with warranty work on Douglas High School and CC Manili. We have started the process for new portable restrooms to be installed at Douglas High School. Plans permitted and design and civil work are being done now. The building will be completed and installed summer of 2023. For our $100,000 jobs, we have the entire parking lot being done at Douglas High School, crack filled and resealed. We will be completing the entire rest of the job for Douglas High School exterior painting project. We are completing the D&E pods with new carpet at Powaloo, as well as the 100 and 200 halls at Douglas High School. And finally, I had an assessment completed on all of our schools' HVAC equipment and I made a 10-year basically wish list for new HVAC that's needed. It totaled up to $20 million over the next 10 years. So we'll be moving forward with the schools with the aging equipment and completing projects that we can afford. So it's not all doom and gloom, it's just reality. So that's why I made this. And you can have a copy of it if you like. So that's it for the summer.
Any questions, Tony?
On the coating that we're going to put on the roof, that's a steel roof, correct?
Correct, metal.
And I always thought that when you coat a steel roof, it's like a Band-Aid. Is that true? I mean,
It's a real good coating. It'll last 15, 20 years.
is that guaranteed 15, 20 years?
Yeah, 20-year guarantee.
Okay.
It's double the price to put a new roof on. So at least double the price. So I wouldn't say it's a Band-Aid. It's the best thing we can do with the money we have.
Any other questions for Phil? Seeing none, thank you, Phil, for your
Okay.
report.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil.
Okay, next on our agenda is item number 9, and that's Superintendent Lewis with his report.
We don't have any donations to report. We did have a couple come in late, so we know we have some on the June coming forward, but that doesn't mean that the generosity is not always there for our community. They do quite well for us. Enrollment, DCSD enrollment counts through May reporting reflected enrollment of 5,426 students, which is 6 up from April reporting and 95 less from where we were in May of 2021. Overall, we are up 46 students from the start of this school year in August. If you have not seen it, I would encourage you to read an article published a few weeks ago in the Record Courier by editor Kurt Hildebrand. I thought Kurt did an outstanding job of educating the public about the 1.3% average decline enrollment we have seen in this county since 1998-99 when we topped out around 7,300 students. The average has been much greater on a percentage level at the lake. But as we all know, we're down about 2,000 students since that high water mark as a district. On May 5th, I attended the Nevada Association of School Superintendents meeting, which was held on the University of Nevada campus. We were fortunate to have the opportunity to meet with the University of Nevada president and former Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval, as well as representatives from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Our discussion focused on developing a more collaborative relationship between K-12 and higher ed, specifically looking at the teacher prep programs and the teacher pipeline. It's well known that the number of teachers that we are needing in this state is significantly higher than the number of teaching candidates being produced in our institutions, and that's a national problem. That's not just a Nevada problem, but just starting those conversations in terms of what can we do to encourage more kids to go into education and teaching as a profession, and also looking at how they're coming out and the skills that they're being prepared with when they come into our classrooms. And so I think it's obviously a good collaborative relationship that we look to strengthen. And I would say that President Sandoval is genuine in his interest and his commitment to do what he can as president of UNR to support more teachers coming into the field. I was also excited to announce that my superintendent colleagues elected me to serve as the next NAS Secretary Treasurer. NAS officers commit to a 3-year term, and so next year I will serve as the Secretary Treasurer, followed by Vice President the following year, and then I will be President
of NAS in 2024-25, which takes on a little added responsibility because it's a legislative year. And so that can be a very, very busy time for a president. So I'm excited and appreciate their faith and confidence in me to serve in that role. My staff and I met with staff at Carson Valley Middle School last week to discuss the CVMS principal search, which has come to an end, fortunately, and other topics brought forward by the staff. They reached out to me and they were concerned. Obviously, both the principal and assistant principal are leaving, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And so it was nice to have the opportunity to go and be able to communicate with them and ask any questions. And I think everyone left in a better place about the future of CVMS and the leadership that will assume that next year. I already talked about Valerie, so again, I'll introduce her at our next meeting in June. Service organizations on April 28th, Rami Cronin Mack, Shannon Brown, Blaine Spires, Kate Balgad, and I woke up bright and early to present to the Kiwanis Club of Carson Valley. We enjoyed the opportunity to share the great things happening in DCSD at the Kiwanis Club. I do have to acknowledge that we probably embarrassed the district because none of us showed up with a wallet or any money. And we were quite unaware of how many times they send around a donation cup. So lesson learned, we will not do that again. And then on the May 26th, we will be presenting Mike Rex, Douglas High School principal, and I will be presenting to the Minden Rotary on the 26th of May. It is with great sadness that I announced that Assistant Director of Inclusive Education, Wendy Yankowski, will be retiring at the end of the year. And you're going to see my emotion because she's meant a lot to this district, obviously. But she's making a good decision for her family. And that's what we preach all the time is to family does come first. And she's making a decision for the best of her family. And we're going to miss her greatly. So we are, not that we're kicking her out the door. We just don't have a whole lot of opportunity in our schedule. We will be interviewing tomorrow morning for the replacement for that position. So we will hopefully have an announcement soon on that. So as tonight's introduction signify, Rob?
Can I ask a question on
Yes.
that? How many applicants did you get for that position?
Right now we have one. Fortunately, it seems to be a very good one, but.
Okay.
As tonight's introduction signify, we continue to be very busy with hiring for the 2022-23 school year. As of last week, prior to the strategic plan, we had 109 employees either retire, resign, or transfer to another position. So they didn't necessarily leave the district. They just went to another position and we had to fill in behind them. We have hired 77 replacements. So there are 32 openings at this time, which is that's good news. We had 32 candidates for a teaching position at Minden Elementary. So we have found that our elementary candidate pools are very strong. We are struggling, obviously, in the area of special ed. We have some significant concerns in that area. And in some of the CTE and as you get to the secondary, some of those specialty classes, the pools are, they're just not broad anyways. But we continue to plug away at that. I talked to you last meeting. I told you about the gal from Greeley that came in. We also had a teaching candidate from Minneapolis that we met at a job fair come and visit the district. She also signed to teach at she was Crespin. I was like, who did I see there? It was Crespin. And then we have a gal from Portland coming in next week to interview at Douglas High School that they met at that job fair. So we are having some, while it's only three, it's three that are coming to Douglas County. So those efforts have been at least fruitful. I would like to acknowledge Steve Chappelle and the Carson Valley Inn. When I talk about generosity of our community, Steve has always been willing to pick up the phone and tell them we have someone coming into town, and Carson Valley Inn comps their rooms and puts them up for 2 nights. And so that is awfully generous of them and makes a nice impression to people coming, and all of them come with their parents with them. And so it sets a nice start to their visit in the Carson Valley. We've had the opportunity to also take them to dinner and get to know the families a little bit more and be able to answer questions. As somebody who has a college age kid, it's nice to know the people that your daughter or your son are going to work for. So it's nice to be able to sell a family approach here in our district. I want to express my gratitude to each of you for your attendance and the other members of the DCSD Strategic Planning Committee that met last Tuesday or Thursday at CVIC Hall. As Rob mentioned, we were blessed to have over 40 members of the community who represent parents, community partners, and obviously district employees in providing input to DCSD regarding our future. And Rob kind of alluded to it. We did what's called a SWOT activity where we identify our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and then any threats to the school district or that could be threats to the school district success. I thought it was a great conversation. It's always nice when people come to those conversations from different experiences and angles. And then we answered some open-ended questions such as what is student success and what are examples of it in Douglas County? What should a DCSD diploma prepare our students to achieve? And if money and resources were no object, what would you like to see the district provide for our students? And so just reviewing those posters, there were some really great ideas on there that we may not be able to afford in the short term, but certainly put some things on our long-term radar as things that we could look to achieve in the future. I'd also like to acknowledge Shannon and Rami for their work in behind the scenes. And then I guess they were actually out in front of you all in planning the strategic plan and leading us through those activities and then the epic presentation that they did. Next month, we'll bring the district's property and casualty insurance renewal before the board for approval. That's an annual activity. As we work to bring the renewal forward, we have been in communication with our broker, Brandon Lewis of USI Insurance Services. No relationship to this Lewis. Based on the information Brandon has provided, we are expecting the district's renewal premium to come in at an increase of approximately 6%. What they have seen in the market for other government entities is around 15 to 20%. So it looks like our renewal through the pool will be very favorable to us. We are still looking though around $870,000 a year to insure ourselves for property casualty insurance. So, and then following that, we're working currently on our application for our workers' comp insurance renewal as well. So those will be coming forward to the board for approval. I wanted to let you know, Mr. Gardner was notified by the Carson Valley Trails Association that they'll no longer be exploring the relocation of the existing trailhead along Jacks Valley Road that I had spoken to you about a couple months ago. We're going to have further conversations with them of how we could possibly share that upper parking lot west of Jacks Valley, but we're not looking at any kind of expansive I'm drawing a blank project in that area. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Last week, we celebrated Teachers Appreciation Week, and it should be publicly known that the staff of Powaloo made fun of your superintendent. And apparently I did not exude enough excitement in my videos. So my staff and I went over the top on Friday and showed them what excitement is all about. This week, we're celebrating our classified employees. We have opened a tab at a local coffee shop to allow them the opportunity to get a beverage on the way or to or from work once during the week. We also gave away through random drawings 10 personal days to randomly selected teachers as just a thank you. And that seemed to be received very well. And obviously there are no words or no actions that could adequately express how much I appreciate the staff that we have. They're amazing. And I just hope our community appreciates what they do every day for our students and our families. We see a lot in this field and they rise to the challenge every single time and are simply amazing. And it's nice to celebrate them. So, and I know the board is also going to, I believe, recognize, I will not give away the secret, but the board, Linda is working on behalf of the board to make sure they're recognized from you all as well this week. So that's all I got. Questions?
Thank you. Do we get to see a copy of that video?
Oh, I can send it to you, sure.
I'd love to see.
Well,
it.
actually, what I challenged, because, they get bored with me. So this, for classified, I asked 5 schools to produce the videos. So Jacks Valley started yesterday with Twin Eagles. Apparently I have 2 eagle mascots, and they sang a little song. And today, I think it was Jack and Jill. Oh, Jack and Jill, the mascots. And today, I believe was Powaloo. I think it was on the docket for today. So, which reminds me, I've not seen that email or sent out the video today. So, any other questions?
That was it. Thank you. All righty, we'll move from item 9 now to item 11. And next on item 11 on our agenda is review and update of the district's 5-year capital improvement plan. And I believe we have Sue. Oh, I was given erroneous information. All right, Sue.
Okay. Through a collaborative effort between Keith and Scott, Phil, and 3 of our board members and stuff, they met to actually talk about some of the issues that we have going on in the district. And HVAC seems to be a huge issue. We've had that assessment done, and we ultimately could have $20 million worth of HVAC repairs and replacements, over the next several years. So we will start whittling away at that. The revenue that is generated through the capital projects is the residential building permit tax, which is $1,600 per dwelling from the county. And then also the governmental services tax, which used to be the motor vehicle privilege tax. Those are the only 2 sources of revenue that we have. And eventually we may have to look at perhaps including an additional transfer from our debt service. We do have the funds there, of which the board approved. And so we will start to slowly whittle away. And we're trying to accommodate both the valley and the lake and the projects that are needed. But through this effort, they've kind of come up with this plan to actually capture the most desperate needs. And so, and then the building sites money is almost gone, even though some of the projects that were earmarked in 21-22 will be rolled over to 22-23. We didn't finish them entirely. And you don't see that on that because we've excluded that column, but and the same with the capital projects, of which will be increased ending fund balance, of which we will then redo the capital projects again. And this is kind of an annual thing that we look at often. So this is where what we have earmarked. And as you can see, boiler and HVAC replacements and stuff are really a priority. We're trying to accommodate those in particular years that we have coming forward, but that's going to be a project in motion for several years. And that's really it.
Are there any questions for Sue? Seeing none, thank you, Sue.
You bet. I think you have to do the next one, right?
Next, we're on to item 12 on our agenda.
We have to motion.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. It's a discussion and possible action. Thank you. All right, I need a motion to be made.
Make a motion that the board approve the 5-year capital improvement plan and authorize its filing with the Department of Taxation.
Okay, motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, second was made. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Thanks again, Sue. All right, now we'll move on to item number 12, which is the roofing maintenance project contract approval for discussion and also for possible action. And I believe we have Mr. Scott McCullough here with us.
Direct you to your red folder. We've got some updated documents that are available here to the public, just with a little bit more specifics.
Thank you, President Gilkerson. For the record, Scott McCullough, Douglas County. This project was stemmed out of a district-wide roofing review that Phil conducted with an outfit to evaluate the conditions of every roof in the district. This one rose to the top because the roof at Scarcelli, the metal is still intact. It hasn't rusted and it's still sound. So by treating it, coating it, we'll preserve that metal for another 15 to 20 years. And the systems they use now, it's a Kynar-based coating. So it's a much more aggressive coating than paint, latex, or enamel ever was. So they keep on developing these coatings that get better and better. It does come with a 20-year warranty for color and chalking, whatever that is. So we went out to bid, but the biggest thing is we used architect that we selected, through our RFQ services, and Paul's done re-roof projects, for the state of Nevada and has worked this type of project before. So to bring his knowledge of it, and then all that's in district. So we really are confident this was the right system for the roof. We received 2 bids for the project. And interestingly, we had good turnout at the bid walk, but there was no local roofers that bid this because the work is so specialty. Both are out of Sacramento area, and the bids were competitive. So that's why we only received 2. We checked Madsen Roofing, and they do a lot of this type of work down in the Sacramento Valley. And they are licensed and bonded from the state of Nevada, and we recommend them for approval for the amount. And this is just for Scarcelli roof coating. Not only will we coat it, we'll go through and change all the roof jacks and all the fasteners. So they'll go make the roof, sound before they make their coating. We'll start in June and be done by the end of July.
Do we have any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it to a motion.
I'll make a motion that the board approve or award the bid for the DCSD roofing maintenance project to Madsen Roofing and Waterproofing in the amount of $729,978, and authorize the superintendent to approve change orders up to 10% of the contract amount as recommended by Director of Facilities Phil Demas and Project Manager Scott McCullough.
Second.
Okay, motion was made. It was second.
Second it.
I think Rob, I'm
Oh,
sorry, Rob
okay.
did. It was a low second, but he seconded it. Do we have any public comment on this? Anybody online, John? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Let's see, we're on item number 13. Again, this is Scott and Phil. Handicap lift contract approval, discussion and for possible action.
And with the Hankin Specialty Elevator, they installed that, the one that's previously there 25 years ago. And it's basically failed. Some of the equipment isn't made anymore. So we basically have to go with a new lift. I was only able to get 2 bids, but the second bid was over 90,000. So we awarded this to Hankin Specialty Elevator for 53,837. And that's for Zephyr Cove Elementary.
Questions, Rob?
What's the typical lifespan on one of these? It sounded maybe like 25. You're a little disappointed with that?
I think that's pretty reasonable.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they're interior lifts, and they don't get much use, but the main reason this one's gone down is they don't make parts for it anymore.
Yeah.
And I bought the last circuit board in America last year, so it went out again. So one of my techs worked on it for over a week. Just different parts are going out on it. A lot of safety switches, and it's just time. Unfortunately, it's a lot of money.
Thank you.
A question. This is the lift at the further stairs to Zephyr Cove, and it just goes vertically up, or it goes up the
No,
stairs?
it's a wheelchair lift up the stairs.
Up the stairs.
So it takes a wheelchair to the top of the stairs and then lets them off.
I'm just surprised at the cost, because I mean, Coke elevator here is the high bid, and they
Right.
put in a library or a elevator in a house, the entire system for a 3-story house for 35,000, and yet there've been 90,000 on this, and it just blows me away. But there's no
Yeah,
other way we
well,
can get away with it.
They don't, the lift in your house just lifts you as a person. This is actually a wheelchair lift that takes up to 450 pounds.
You know, you could put an elevator, put a lift in this elevator in the house, but I
Right,
it surprises me that.
He offered me one there for 10,000, but we have to get the wheelchair for the person up to the next landing.
What did he offer for 10,000?
Just the lift that you sit in.
Oh, I
and
see.
takes you to the top. But that doesn't do you any good when you have someone in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And it's very specialized company. I looked 500 miles out and Hankins the only one
Yeah.
that does it.
Blows me away. but yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things that, you know, right now we're replacing this one. There are 2 others, correct? 3 total in Zephyr Cove.
Yeah,
So
shorter.
they're shorter, but we have 3 different levels in that school that have these lifts. So
And the other thing, last year I got a verbal quote for 38,000, but it's gone up that much with shipping and metal and everything. It's just crazy.
Go ahead.
I assume other options have been looked into, like we can't just build ramps.
no, I would be
Next option would be an elevator. which
Right.
Would be triple the cost.
Right. Okay.
Quadruple.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
You have the ramp at the front and then there's a couple other lifts on other places. Because it almost seems like you could put an elevator on the outside of the building, but it can't service all the places with one stop, so. that's probably part of it.
Yeah, it's all about ADA requirements.
Sure.
I mean, it gets used maybe once or twice a year, but this
have to
has to
have
be
it.
done.
All right, this is for discussion, possible action. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion that the board award a contract for the refurbishment of Zephyr Cove Elementary School inclined wheelchair lift to Hinkin Specialty Elevator Incorporated in the amount of $53,837, as recommended by Director of Facilities Phil Demas and Project Manager Scott McCullough.
Okay, a motion was made. Is there a second? Thank you, Heather. Is there any public comment on this at this time? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Just for the record, it's not a refurbish, it's a brand new unit going in.
All right,
So
thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. In the,
Yeah.
it says a refurbishment.
All right, I'll make a motion to change my previous motion to replace the elevator instead of refurbish.
Okay, I guess we need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring that to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion passes 7-0. Are we good, Rick? Okay, thank you. All right. Item number 14 is Marketing Consulting Services, RFI. And Mr. Shannon Brown is going to discuss this with us. And once again, it's for discussion and possible action. Thank you, Shannon.
Right, so we've been having discussions amongst cabinet and with Superintendent Lewis about our challenges as a school district of marketing our epic learning or just even getting our message out of some of the work we've been doing and some of the amazing things that happen in our district. And over the course of that, we're realizing that we're educators, not marketers. And this is through the pandemic and our trip to NCDC, seeing what other districts are doing. We really realized that, it's a competitive market out there and we need some support. So Superintendent Lewis asked me to create a request for information for consulting services. And I worked with our EPIC steering committee subcommittee that's on communication. And we advertised out a request for information in January. 5 of those firms, 5 agencies responded back. We interviewed all of them on March 30th. And our panel is recommending that we work with Estepona Group. Their whole team is from rural Nevada. So they understand our community. They've had work with educational and government agencies. One of their big campaigns recently was Immunize Nevada for COVID-19. And the panel felt they were a great overall fit to work with our team.
I want to just add to Shannon's, one of the bigger projects will be a revamp of our district website, which also would include all the subsites of individual schools. And so some consistency in that look, obviously, and we're all thick-skinned here. We've got people that have done a nice job of getting our website up and going and keeping it up and going, but it reflects that it's no one's full-time job. And so just a more professional look. And then that, again, that consistency where schools would have some authority to change some things, but the general overall look could not be changed so that we keep that consistent look. Also looking at branding. And the other thing that we've looked at in terms of, the need for marketing services is obviously, as I've talked about, teacher recruiting and employee recruiting, and being able to put together professional piece that is a destination video for Douglas County and Douglas County School District. And why would people want to come here to teach? And so a request for information is strictly about what that fit is. The cost of services do not factor into our decision. It is solely about fit. And then by project is then we determine costs along the way. So that's why we're here tonight. And
we're glad to welcome Nicole Dion and Kyle Bryce, both from Estepona Group. Drove down from Reno this afternoon.
All right. Do we have any questions?
As far as funding the program, we're using different types of.
Yeah, so we've set some money aside of our ESSER funds for some initial seed money, and then obviously any ongoing, then we would have to work into our general fund budget moving forward. So, and obviously we'll make decisions that are wise for our budget.
Thank you.
Heather?
Mine's just more of a comment of just, I just want to say, I think that we need to work on communication, transparency, and I feel this is a good direction to go. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what it is you want or what, where the information is you're looking for on the district website or school websites. And so I just feel like this can really help with helping information to be presented to everyone in a way that they can understand it. So I like that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So question, just, this is going to be, the funds are going to be allocated on a project by project basis?
Yeah.
Okay. Have we determined anything right on that we're going to?
Not yet. So we're not in that. So we have not discussed money as part of this process. So. Yeah.
Comment. Yeah. I think one of the big things I see out of this is communication with the parents and being able to get that information, because website is a huge factor and part of our communications.
Yes, I agree with you, Carrie. I think that consistency across the school district is good too. If you're lucky enough, you get somebody, when you were at Powaloo, you were wonderful with the website, but not everybody has the same skills. So this way it's kind of an even playing field, and we can get what needs to be out there consistent, but they'll still be able to add their own flavor to it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Informational flavor.
Informational flavor.
Not too much. Flavor.
Okay. All righty.
The other thing, I think I had shared the day we interviewed is really fascinating. It's always nice to step outside of what we know as educators. And so it was great to go in and listen to presentations, and they use acronyms that we don't know, just like we do that they don't know. But just all the analytics too, the things that we don't think about, if you don't post frequently on social media, you drop down. There's so much that goes into communication and marketing that we have no clue about. And so I think it is wise. And, you know, in Charlotte, those of you that I know Rob, Linda, and Heather that were on that trip, I think that was a big takeaway for all of us, is the professional look of what people are doing, how they're presenting data, how they're presenting accountability reports to the community. We're at that day and age where we need assistance in doing that. So, and again, you know, my hat's off to John. He's amazing. I can send him some at midnight and say, John, I need this on the website, and it's, you know, 12:02, it's up. But I think he is probably leading this charge too, to know that this is a need for the district. So.
I agree with you with John. I said yesterday, could you put this up for us, the video? And there it is. Thank you. Interesting. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
I was just going to make a motion. If we're
Oh,
ready for
okay,
that.
great. We're ready for that.
I would recommend that the board award the district's marketing consulting work to Espinona Group as recommended by the interview panel.
Motion was made. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. A second. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, nobody online? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Shannon. I know, would you like to come up and speak if you so inclined? That's okay.
For that longer.
I know, and you really don't, but
Hi.
hi. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nicole Dion.
And I am Kyle Bryce with Espona Group, obviously.
Yes, it's Estepona. Estepona. Everyone wants to say Espinoza, but it's Estepona. Our boss is Filipino and Chinese.
And grew up in Elko.
And grew up in Elko. Where'd you
Is that
grow up?
your
Kyle?
last name? Is that his last name? Okay. That's Stepona. Nice.
Well, it's been great getting to know the district and start to uncover how we can help create more accessibility, more awareness, make sure everybody has access to the accurate, correct information, and we're getting it out quickly, effectively, and in the channels that people are looking for. So you invited our team graciously to your strategic planning, which I know we got a lot out of. So thank you for letting us participate there. And can't wait to actually have an official project get going that we can, start to bite off on. So thanks for your time, everybody. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down here.
Sure.
Thank you. All right. Any questions for them before you stand up? Nope. Okay. Thanks. All righty. Let's see. We'll move on to item.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait.
That's our recommendation.
Thank you. Drive safe. All righty. That was funny. All right, now we'll move on to agenda item number 15, which is our NASB membership. As a follow-up action that we took during the January, we decided to have a discussion and maybe possible action talking about NASB, which stands for the Nevada Association of School Boards, and whether we're going to continue our association with them or not. So I guess we'll just start. Heather, being I don't know if you want, or okay, go ahead. Sorry, Tony. $13,000, right? Yep. Yeah.
So President Gilkerson, if I may.
Okay.
One thing we have learned is there was a question about Board Book, and that's the software program that we use for our posting. We have been notified that outside of being NASB members, we would not be able to use that. They would not contract with us. So they notified us that last week. We have not, unless Karen received something just recently, we have not received any kind of response back in terms of what an alternative would be in terms of something outside of Board Book. But they have a contract with NASB that gives, I think Board Book is about $3,500 discounted rate through NASB.
Okay. So it's hard to know.
Karen, you could speak more to that if you have more to add. in terms of.
Just say it really streamlines the process of creating the agendas, going back and seeing the history of the agendas. They archive our agendas and our minutes every year, for every month. It's a great tool. We could use it even more interactively. I think that would require some training for the board, but it has been a really good program. Their support is really helpful. So I think it's a great program and very useful for the district.
Rob, we'll go
And we
to you.
know why they won't? I don't understand
So
that.
it was a quick email and I did say, he went to the director and he said, without having us, they don't contact.
I know that seems very interesting, but
It's like
That
knock
was-
against
yeah,
NASB.
yeah.
What are they doing in the background to not let us use stuff? That's weird.
We don't have any idea what it would cost to replace with something else.
No, because when we shopped for board 4 years ago. So those costs, I'm not sure that they're the same as they were back then.
Yeah, I doubt it.
But I'd be happy to research it.
Okay. Hmm.
I did just want to make a couple comments, just since I am the NASB representative this year. First of all, you all have this little book that's under your stuff. And this is from NASB that is a directory that has all of the school boards from all over the state. And so it has information of how to reach people in each district and talks a little bit about what the role is of a school board member and different things like that. So you each have a copy of this. This is your directory to get in contact. But I just want to say that I feel like, yes, we can be in contact with these people without NASB, but it takes a lot of effort on our part to do that. And I think we kind of will end up just kind of being our own little district and not knowing what's going on. The last meeting that I was at with NASB, we had 3 of the different districts that got up to talk about how the state requiring them to send some of their funds back to the state in the amount of around $6 million. I think one was $8 million possibly. It's mining money that they get that the state has said, nope, we're taking that too, part of the people-centered funding. And so I think working together, we become aware of the things that are happening in different districts, and we can be able to get ahead of it, right? And before they start taking more funds from us or start doing things. And then it also gives us a group that we can work together to support each other, that we're already working on things that we're going to do next year for the legislation to try and get more funding for education. When all the marijuana stuff came in, they said that was money that was going to go to the schools, which they did, but then they took other funding under the table away from the schools. And so we are not getting any more funding because of that. And so we really need to be able to have groups that we can work together. We can go to the state and be representing all the districts and saying, hey, we need the funding, that's required for our schools. Right now, the average for the state of Nevada is we spend $9,000 per student around there. The national average is 13. So as a state, we need to be working to get more funds for education. And I feel like NASB can help us in that as we work together. Same thing with whether school boards are going to be appointed or elected. We need a group that we can work together with to get our voices heard. And so I feel like from that standpoint, I think it's really good. I've met several school board members from different districts. I'm in contact with them. We help work through things with each other, but it helps us be aware of what's happening in other districts so that we can get ahead of the game in a lot of areas. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank you, Heather. Go ahead, Rob.
So the motion in January was that the board votes again in May, whether we want to be a part of NASB for the following school year based on actions that NASB take between now and then. and any other information they want to give us. So between January and May, what have they done for me lately?
I'm not sure it's just you as an individual. I don't know. Did they take you to dinner? I'm not sure.
I was quoting a song.
What have you done for me lately?
Yeah, I meant the board.
I
meant
know.
the school.
And and I think Heather has touched on some of this. I mean, it's hard to make change. It's going to be hard for Douglas County to go and represent themselves only to make change for something. When you have an entire state working together, I think they sit up and listen. I would hope that would be
I
the
haven't seen
situation.
that.
Well, we're coming
So-
up on a.
That's what I'm asking.
Can I-
like
can I share?
what-
Go
Just-
ahead, go ahead.
What have they done? Like what
That's just the one.
actual,
So from what I was saying about the 2 emergency board meetings we had, those were to determine if we felt that it was important for us to have representation on this education committee. If we had 2 options, we could just say we don't want a seat on there because we're going to have to pay a consultant to be there, right? Or to do something for us. And so we could just say, we're just going to go ahead and not have a say in this, and we're just going to watch and see what happens. But in talking within the district and in talking to these other districts, we feel it's very important that we have boards. And because we want people represented, not who's going to be on the school board. And so in these emergency meetings, we determined this is important, and we have worked and we're paying someone to go to these meetings to present and to push for elected officials. And so that would be one thing that they are doing for us right now in working to try and make that work. And so, like I said, the same thing we're going to be doing with the education or the money for education. They're already working on getting groups together that are going to work and push for legislation next year to help get more money. Also, as I mentioned earlier in the training that we did, we talked about different we need to push for in legislation discipline, or where there's things we need to work on. And so again, that's another thing where NASB will, okay, well, what are we going to push for, and how are we going to have 2 lobbyists that NASB pays for, that they go and they talk to all legislative officials and things and try and help get stuff done. They have said that's been very hard in the last 2 years because they have been doing everything behind closed doors, not allowing others in, and that's made it really hard on them. So you're right, in the last recent past, there hasn't been a lot because they have not been allowed in to do the things that they need to do. But we're hopeful for this next legislative session that they will be able to have much more of a role and help us.
I just wanted to say, over those last few years, they've not raised what we're paying either. They've not increased our.
did they like discount because they weren't doing anything, or did they keep the same amount?
So I mean, we probably didn't pay the lobbyists for the past, or like, yeah.
But
'cause
we
I mean,
paid NASB.
yes. And I'm not saying NASB hasn't been doing things. They still had trainings, because that's how I got my training done, and they've still had things going on. So they're still doing stuff. I'm just saying our lobbyists weren't able to be as active as they would like to be. They still met with people on the side, but they weren't able to get into that. But yes, they've already determined the dues for next year will not increase.
I believe they're also a group that has their finger on the pulse of what's going on too. They're able to look at all the legislative, of course, when we only are every other year.
I understand you guys like it. I really do. I don't like, how did they not see the marijuana thing coming? It was blindsided. Like, this is what we pay them for, right? They're supposed to see this happening and cut it off.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
I think we should have all.
Isn't that what they're supposed to be
I
doing?
think we should have all seen this coming.
Oh, we don't see
I
what
mean,
they do
I
underneath.
didn't-
Like, that's what we pay.
I
We
never
pay them
thought-
for,
I
we pay
never,
them to do this.
I never thought that we'd see marijuana money myself personally.
I don't know. I haven't.
And no, we didn't. And it was a whatever, doesn't matter, but yeah, I didn't believe that was going to happen anyways. But
Linda?
Doug, I'm sorry.
The whole thing with the marijuana money is it was a good sale, okay?
Mhm.
It was a good sale. They could sell it to the people, the bill to the people, saying money was gonna come into education. Well, it did come into education, but when they wrote the bill, they left a loophole so that they could take the money out also, and they did.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If we have we are not lobbyists.
I
We're not
understand.
the ones who do that.
I understand, but
We
we also don't
pay
have,
this group to do that.
we also don't have the final vote in the legislature of what they
Either.
passed.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you
You know.
can. you
So,
can
so
lobby
did we,
for things,
did
but-
we get a heads up on this? Like, did NASB send out, hey, this is what we're seeing? I don't think so. I think they got blindsided. I don't think they saw it coming. I mean, do you guys remember seeing it?
I was in a different place at the time, and yes, I did see it coming, because I was working for a nonprofit, so we knew that this was going to happen.
Hmm.
That was like you said, it was, I'm just talking about the marijuana. But, yeah.
Here
Tony?
tonight,
Who?
Asby.
No, they're not here. this
Were they aware that we were going to discuss this about them tonight?
I'm not sure. I don't think.
Well,
so.
I don't think that's entirely fair. They're without executive director right now. So the executive director who would be here, they're in the process of trying to replace. And we did not ask them to be here, Tony.
Question.
Yes, Doug.
A few things. I want to clarify, you said their position on election versus appointment is they would push for election of school board members.
That was the consensus of this, it was a vote by all the each school board is represented and we voted, is this something that we want to push for? So yes, the consensus was that we are going to push for elected.
Actually,
school members.
the legislature tried to do that 2 sessions ago to replace elected school board
Right.
members with appointed school board members, which would be pretty much, I think it was 1 county commissioner and then the governor appointed whichever, party he was, would appoint the remaining 4 or 5.
Okay, well, no, I understand that it's, all they can do is put their voice in to the
Right.
legislative committee or whoever they talk to. Is there, and I don't know if you know this, Heather, I'm just asking this question out. Is there some way to get some kind of position papers on NASB as far as, where they stand on a lot of issues, like when the whole thing came down in the, was it last fall or something, and Merrick Garland and the letter from the national board, I want to know that our NASB wants no part of that type of thing. So I don't know if there's a way we can find information on that. And then the third thing I had was, we were talking about the money and how we can get together and push for more money. It seems to me that with the new legislative thing where all the money's going into a pool and being distributed, Douglas County loses out being a richer district. And I don't think that necessarily all the other school boards are necessarily going to be feeling the same way and feel sorry for us.
So my comment with that is we won't be pushing there, yes, this group is not going to push for maybe that to go away, but we can push for additional funds being put into education from the state of Nevada. So that's what we're pushing for, is that all districts would get more money, basically. But you're right, and that was one of Rob's concerns at the beginning, was that they didn't help us make sure this didn't get passed, but there were several districts that were benefiting from it. And so they did not get involved because it's only when we all agree is something that they will get involved in. I do just want to clarify on the appointed, what they are saying is from the things that they've seen, it would be a half appointed, half elected school board. So it'd be a hybrid. And so, yes, there would be some that would be from county commissioners or possibly the governor, but it would only be half of it would be, so for example, on our board, it would probably be up to 3, and then the other 4 would be elected. So I just wanted to clarify that that's what it looks like they're looking at. But they had said there hasn't been talk of it all being appointed, just to clarify that.
Well, I have a suggestion based on, I'll just throw this out, is, Rob obviously is a little concerned, and I'm still a little concerned with the group, is maybe we do another, let's look at this in 6 months or a year type thing and see, just kind of keep it open for, because I'm seeing some benefits of it, with the board book and things like that, but.
So I think it comes up every year anyways, right? So if we determine today we're going to do one more year, we would pay for one more year of it. And then next year it comes up again and we decide again. And then just the other, I forgot you had one other question, Doug, that I was going to comment on. The way that it works is it's the majority. And so if the majority feels this is what we should, be doing, that's kind of, so just when you're asking about what their stance would be on things, that's kind of, it's as a group, as each of us in there, what we believe and what we talk about.
And each school board gets one vote, or is it by population?
Each school board gets one vote. There is an executive committee, so there may be more than one member of a school board that's part of NASB, because they have an executive committee, and then they have a representative from each. But each school board only gets one vote. So even if there's multiple people there, there's one that is assigned to be their voter.
President Gilkerson, just as a reminder to the board, we chose May because the invoice will be due in June to whether or not we renew. And so that's why we're here tonight.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm like a broken record, and $13,000, I know that's a lot of money, but it's not a great deal of money on a budget like we have to not have the collaboration with the state on our level, and to have training that has more substance than any other training that we can get through any other entity other than reading. I'm just for it. And again, I think that Doug has a very good idea of doing it for another year. And what you expect out of 13 grand is it, if I had 13 grand to spend on a project like that, I would certainly go for it, because with the work I'm doing, it's beneficial for me. Because I think it's beneficial for the board if the board embraces it. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Go ahead, Rob.
We're in an awkward cycle where we're supposed to approve them in January, but our budget, it comes due in July. I think this is a social club we pay for those people that want to go and chat with others. And I just don't see the value. I would be okay paying a pro rata share through January when we're going to vote for it again. Half of it, 5/7 of it, whatever it's going to be. And then voting again for the other half in January.
I don't know that that's possible, but
I'm sure they'd take it.
oh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
And we don't even know who there's going to be running it. They can't even find somebody to run themselves.
And then they had their additional.
I don't think
thing.
that's true. I don't think that's a fair statement. They can't find somebody. I think they're
No.
putting out feelers to try to find the best person.
Okay, that was
think
what I
it's-
heard.
And I
It's
think the other
open.
big ticket thing is board book and the value it has for clerical.
So if we found out that board book, in order for us to replace that, would cost us 10,000 or 13,000 or whatever it would cost, would you feel differently?
Sure. That's
Okay.
basic math.
Just wondering.
I will just say, I do not use NASB as a social club because I really don't like any extra meetings and I really miss out on the time I get to be with my family. But I have found it beneficial in the things that I'm learning from other districts and the things that I'm learning from others. And so to me, it's been good. That's how I've learned about the state goals that I didn't even know about. That's what's helped me see what other districts are doing to achieve those state goals and to kind of know what's happening throughout the state and stuff. And so from that standpoint, I like it and feel we should continue.
I think you're a good representative too, Heather, and I want to thank you. I know it requires a lot of your time, And it can be thankless at times too, but I want to thank you for being our school board representative on NASB.
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve NASB membership for the was 2022, 23 year, or is it? Which starts in July. Okay, I make a motion that we approve the NASB for the following year, starting in July of 2022.
Okay, a motion was made.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this item? Anybody online? No? Okay, then we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
So we have 6 ayes and 1 opposed. Motion passes 6-1. Thank you. Now we are, oh shoot, sorry. Now we're at public comment. I apologize for not stopping at 5:30. Let me go ahead. Carrie, do you have who's doing the timer? Ross? Okay. We have public comment. Comments from the public are invited at this time on topics not specifically addressed elsewhere in the agenda. A sign-up sheet is provided, and individuals who wish to address the board are asked to indicate their desire to speak and about the topic which they will speak. Individuals addressing the board at this time will be limited to 3 minutes. The board is precluding from acting on any items during public comment that are not already on the agenda. So that being said, when you come up for public comment, we cannot, if you have questions, we cannot answer them at this time, but we'd be happy to answer them later on. So I will take, we need to get the paper. Yeah, go ahead.
What I'll do first is, you have 3 minutes. At 2.5 minutes, I'll hold up a yellow card. That'll indicate that you have 30 seconds left if you start to conclude your remarks. At the end of that time, I'll hold up a red card.
Thank you,
Please conclude
Superintendent
your remarks.
Lewis. First, we have Ms. Sarah, and we're going to ask you to go ahead and state your name for the record, and then we'll start. Okay? Oh, there you go, Sarah. You're good.
Hi, I'm Sarah Dotz. I'm a parent and I'm here to talk about CRT. And it's also basically to implore you guys to read Race to the Bottom, Uncovering the Secret Forces Destroying American Public Education by Luke Rosiak. I've been to a few educational gatherings now, and each one I see teachers, principals, school board members rolling their eyes at any mention of CRT. We don't know what we're talking about. We need to go to schools and look and see what it's not or just not in our district. Today, I want to help define CRT. After numerous discussions with people around town, we really don't know what it is. Critical race theory is the idea that we are living white goals, growing up with mom and dad, sisters and brothers, going to school, behaving, getting good grades, and those good grades excelling us to better learning. Maybe go to a good college, get a great job, participate well in society. Everyone's goal, right? Mine, my friends, yours, I'm sure. This is racist, all races. Our basic life goal of happiness is forcing Black people into our whiteness of good grades and behaving properly. Unfortunately, there are just some students who just don't grade well and don't know how to participate in school and just receive low grades. But to abide by CRT, let's get rid of A's, B's, C's, F's. Let's start grading effort, acceptable, exceeds, reaching goals. Sometimes instances where a student who normally would receive a D- receives a pass, leading to children not being encouraged to excel. The last school board meeting had school therapists after another saying how important restorative justice is to our schools. I understand today's students are unbelievably more advanced with emotional problems due to technology. I also understand that my students need this support. But if you remember, our goal of behaving and being good citizens is racist. CRT feels Black students are singled out and disciplined more often than any other demographic, which has led to the implementation of restorative justice. Now, instead, my daughter sits quietly in the classroom waiting to learn, while teachers do nothing to discipline rowdy children. School board, you're teaching CRT, and I wish very much for you to open your eyes. It has been creeping its way into schools since the 1950s. All our children deserve to excel and be disciplined to learn how to be supportive members of our society, bring back grades in elementary school, and spend more efforts on actual discipline.
Thank you, Sarah. Next, we have Ms. Haynes. You could start off by stating your name for the record, please.
My name is Gentry Hames. I'm a school social worker at Douglas High School and Carson Valley Middle School. And I'm also a parent. And my kids go to Pinion Hills. So I am the school therapist that she's mentioning in Douglas County. I have a face, I have a name. I work here 5 days a week. And I'd like to talk about what's happening currently. I think people who are concerned about their kids and love their kids and are concerned about education have really looked really far into the future to CRT. And I'd like to just kind of pull us back to now. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a pyramid, and at the top is self-actualization, and at the bottom is physiological needs. And what we're seeing as social workers here in the school district is that the main thing that's happening right now is that our families are not meeting their physiological needs: shelter, clothing, food. Okay, so if we had all these community members who are rallying around preventing CRT and writing letters to the newspaper, let's say that took 5 hours. If they put their energy 5 hours into getting me gas cards for families, I could get families back to work. At my elementary school earlier in the year, we ran out of pants. So kids who have accidents or kids who have ill-fitting clothing or are low-income families, we couldn't give them any pants. So we had to get teachers to donate money so I could run to Walmart and get kids pants. If we had people using their energy in our community to help me meet these basic needs, the food pantry ran out of granola bars and all snacks. This is what we hand out to kids who can't afford food, okay? So we need to meet physiological needs, right? Families are homeless, they're being pushed out because landlords are selling for cash because they can, and maybe they need the money. But I need hotel vouchers. I need housing. These people need shelter. And we're looking so far into the future that we're forgetting that people, does that mean 1 minute? We're forgetting that, like, my students, a lot of my students couldn't go to their 8th grade dance because they couldn't afford a dress or couldn't afford a suit. So we went out and we bought them with our own money, which is fine. I'm happy to do that. But I need granola bars. I need food. Our food pantry in Douglas County needs food. We need pants. So instead of looking so far into the future and saying we're scared of talking about these things, please help us in the school districts meet these kids' basic needs. And once we do that, then maybe we can talk about these theoretical things. So I'm just begging for help. Thank you.
Thank you, Gentry. That's all I had for public comment. Was there anyone else last minute? Okay, Rami, are you coming? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, okay, that's the end of public comment. We'll move on to item 17. It's great. It's a grading presentation. It's also for discussion and possible action. And we have Ms. Rami Cronin Mack presenting. Are you? Awesome. Mr. Brown and Ms. Winters. Thank you.
I was going to say, for somebody like me who's click happy, that could be problematic. Good evening, Rami Cronin Mack, Executive Director of Education Services for Douglas County School District. I'd like to introduce to you, I'm sure you already know, Miss Kelly Winter, who is currently Assistant Principal at the Lake Schools Minden Elementary School, as well as Mr. Shannon Brown, Assistant Director of Education Services. We're here this evening to update you on the work of the last year of the grading committee that you directed me to put together at our last discussion about grading in, I believe it was May of 2021. And so, wait, patient. 1 second delay. Oh. See, we got trigger happy. So last time we had this conversation, you indicated that you would like me to, there we go, establish a standardized district-wide grading system in accordance with Administrative Regulation 513 to be implemented in the 2022-2023 school year. The conversation was a good portion of what you discussed was the need to develop consistency and for us to really, as a group, determine the meaning of what a grade is. And so that was the purpose, and we visited it every time that we met. We had a pretty diverse group of members. You can see from that list, we had 3 school board members, Member Lehman, Member Jackson, and Member Engelkirk all served on this committee, as well as myself and Mr. Brown, Ms. Winter. We had Miss Nancy White representing Carson Valley Middle School, Principal Gil Martin from Jackson Valley Elementary School, and then of course Kelly, Andrew Fromdahl, who is an assistant principal as well. And then we had several parents, Alicia Main, Ginger Nikolai Davis. We had several teachers, Amy Carter from Minden, she's a K-5 teacher, Lynn Faulkner from Carson Valley Middle School, Katie Shipley, who represented very well AP concerns from Douglas High School, and Carrie Stack, who served to support or represent the CTE teachers, and then Miss Jill Howe, who's one of our EPIC learning coaches, as well as Mr. Lewis attended periodically. I did solicit membership from our community, asking principals to provide names. We opened it up to teachers who were interested. So there were lots of opportunities for people to serve on the committee. I didn't cap it at a specific size. It was really just anybody who said they were interested, we invited them to participate. So it wasn't capped. So we met had eight meetings beginning in October of 2021. And we spent a good deal of the first couple of meetings really just looking at what is legal, what already exists in our DCSD policies on grading. And so the team asked lots of good questions. We reviewed many different laws relating to not just grading, but looking also at regulations and board policies on homework. And then we started looking at what other districts do. We spent time identifying our current strengths and around our current practices. And then we realized that we really wanted to get some input from secondary teachers. It became clear the more we had conversations that the concerns that the board expressed that at the last time that we brought this forward were really about secondary issues, not necessarily K-5. And so that is where a good portion of our conversation went for the last 8 months. You have in your packet a new administrative regulation 214. as part of our conversations and looking at what other districts were doing, we realized that we had our grading policy under students, AR 513, but grading is not something, is something that teachers do. It's more of a program issue. So we moved it. So that's going to be a little, that might be confusing. So I wanted to make sure you understood that we took it out of the 500s, which is students, and moved it to 200s, which is program. And so I asked Karen, Ms. Harper, to please provide for you a copy in your red folder today of the former administrative regulations so you could compare it. So formally, we last year talked about AR 513, and this committee worked really hard to develop AR 214, keeping what they felt like was the most important essence of AR 513, but simplifying it in order to make sure that it was simple to follow, easy to understand, and that we could then move this work forward based on that. So we wordsmith a lot, yeah. Every meeting, except for one, I think. There was only one meeting, I believe, we did not actually talk about the administrative regulation. But it became very clear that the biggest concern of the board members who served on the committee, as well as many of the parents and teachers in the room, and sometimes teachers also representing the interests of parents, because most of them had are parents as well, was just that inconsistency amongst the secondary classrooms where teachers have teaching the same content, exactly the same course, and yet the grading practices were vastly different. And so, in fact, we had that conversation a lot. Anything else you want to talk about the process? Yeah. So some of our outcomes. First and foremost, you had asked us to talk about what is the meaning of a grade. So we came to a consensus as a committee that grades should reflect what a student knows and can do, particularly around the standards, because every content, every course, and I shared this with you when we met last year, that every single course that we teach at the secondary level has standards associated with it, with the exception of some, well, even within inclusive education, we've worked really hard to make sure there's standards. So there's standards associated with every course. So we really felt like that grade should reflect that. We also, as I noted before, made significant changes to AR 214 to give teachers clear and concise direction on grading practices. We felt like the original AR 513 had a lot of redundancy. It repeated things. It was wordy. And sometimes was confusing. So that's why we spent so much time clearing that up. We also determined in December, we made the decision that as secondary teachers were getting ready to close out the semester, it would be a good time to ask them about grading practices that they have in their classrooms and what do they do. And so we actually asked for us, we put together a survey and asked for input from them. We had 75 respondents, and it was very clear as we read, especially the narrative portions of that survey, that teachers felt very strongly that they needed more opportunities for professional learning and collaboration, because that's where we create consistency. And in talking to even some of our new teachers, new to the profession, our pre-service programs don't really do a lot with teachers around grading. They don't have a lot of knowledge about it. So they come in and they just do the same thing that they remember happening when they were in school, right? Like that's the reference point, or maybe they experienced in their student teaching, but they don't really have a framework by which to start from. It also became clear that as part of our induction process in Douglas County, that we have not done a great job with our teachers new to Douglas, explaining to them our expectations around their grading. And so as part of our conversations in the grading committee, we have made sure that starting with this upcoming group of a very large number of new teachers to the district, that will be part of the induction they receive at the very beginning, is spending time with the administrative regulation. And so they begin to wrap their heads around what our expectations are as Douglas County School District for how grading should happen. And then another outcome was that it became very clear, like I said, that there were two parallels, that we have the work that we're doing with elementary needed to be a little bit different than the work we're doing with secondary. Everybody needs to have access to the administrative regulation. Every teacher in our district needs to have time to collaborate with their peers, the same grade levels, the same content, the people who teach the same course as them, and spend time deciding what is an appropriate approach to grading so there is that consistency. And it was also the consensus of the members that those grades, it needs to be very clear to everybody that the grades need to reflect the standards for what is taught in that course and not anything else. We spent a lot of anecdotal time, people sharing recent examples of where students' grades were changed with, some extra credit assignment, or a child brought in, a case of Kleenex for the teacher, or hand sanitizer, which, as you know, right now is, or at least a year ago, was very difficult to get. But the committee felt like by changing the administrative regulation, that we would really build the foundation to guide our teachers on their grading practices. And again, I just want to reiterate that the lack of consistency that we're seeing right now, that I hear complaints from parents especially, is really probably more on our end, a result of a lack of training and that opportunity for teachers to work together to create consistent practices. So some highlights of the changing. Obviously, I already told you, we changed it from 500 to 200. We modified the language to really make it very clear that the expectation is that a grade is about the standard that is being taught in that particular course, and it should be a measure of what students know and can do. We've given guidance on the grading of homework so that it's very clear that homework is to be graded. When homework is graded, that it should be homework that is again related to the standard. So students are getting that opportunity to interact with the standard content and practice and get feedback on it. And then we also emphasize consistency by content and grade level. So what is our plan? Well, our plan, as I noted already, is that we would like to have the time next year to make sure every teacher in the district engages with the AR 214, and that we use the PLC time that you have already, as a board, given us permission to have to discuss and establish consistent procedures. And it would look a little bit different for K-5 than it would for 612. If you refer to AR 214, you'll see that we do standards-based grading, and at the elementary, we will continue with that. We are in the process of bringing on board a learning management system. And within that learning management system, we're going to start that process next year with K-5. And they will have the opportunity then to make their grades for parents more transparent than they are now. We've used standards-based grading in Douglas County School District K2 for 23 years. We've been 3.5 for 3. And in that time, we've always tried to make something work. And so right now we have Infinite Campus, our student information system, and we've created report cards in there that reflect standards-based grading for K-5. But what they don't do is they don't allow parents to go at any time of the day and see where a student is performing. They only get that input at the trimester. And that's not good for kids, and it's really not good for parents. As part of our role of Epic Learning, our teachers who have really started to recognize that have started, you may have heard teachers refer to badge books. Badge books are just a way to communicate to parents how students are performing on standards. The learning management system will do that even better. It's called Empower. So parents will be able to log in and see how are their children doing. So as we bring Empower on board for our K-5, then we will use our PLC time, our professional learning next year to help teachers not only know how to work in Empower, but begin to develop that consistency amongst grade levels and provide them that opportunity to do common not only assessments, but I would go further to say evidence of learning, because not all learning is demonstrated through simply an assessment, but we do lots of different things, right? Projects, opportunities to speak, presentations, all of those things. So that is the work of the K-5. 612, the work will be to work on common assessments and common tasks of evidence of learning based on standards once they develop consistent procedures. So really, our team felt that our K-5 teachers are just a little bit further ahead. They've been doing standards-based grading for a long time. 612, we're not interested in going to a standards-based grading system. We just want it to be standards referenced. Let me say that again. 612 will continue to award grades A, B, C, D, F, just like families have traditionally seen for a very long time in public education. But we want to make sure that those grades reflect what students know and can do on the standards. So we're not changing like we've done in elementary. Elementary, we really just report out on how are they performing on the standard. How is the student's phonemic awareness in kindergarten? Are they proficient, right? That's good information for parents, and it's good for students to understand. But we also understand that once we get to secondary, we're preparing students to go into a world that has an expectation around a traditional grade. That doesn't mean it can't be standards referenced, just that, in fact, it should be, right? It should be reflective of that. So that is the work 612 needs to do. They need to spend time with administrative regulation. They need to spend time developing consistent procedures in departments. We need to provide our teachers at George Hotel High School, as well as Douglas High School, time to collaborate together so that if you go to a chemistry class at Douglas High School, those procedures are very similar. Grading procedures are similar and consistent with what's happening at George Hotel. A chemistry class in Douglas County should be the same. It might be a little bit different. Teaching is an art, it's a craft, right? And you're going to get some differences based on the way teachers approach teaching, but we want consistency in grading so that students don't feel like they have to try to get that other teacher because that other teacher's grades are more fair. We want fair for all our students. So I would recommend that you would, and I'll answer your questions in a moment, but I would recommend that this committee continue. I feel very strongly, I'm gonna get emotional. This is good work and our teachers are ready for it. We had some amazing people, advocates for this work on this committee, and I'm grateful for them. And so, but the committee needs to continue. The work is not done. It's just, we discovered that we haven't done a good job as a district. We originally developed an administrative regulation, but we didn't support our teachers in understanding what that meant and how it looks in the classroom. And now that's the work that we have to reel back a little bit. And these wonderful people will inherit because it's good work and it's important work, but we need to give our teachers time to really work together to collaborate. That's why you gave us the PLC time. I have to say that I've sat in this position working in curriculum instruction for Douglas County School District for, I believe it's 13 years, 12, I'm not sure. It's sad, I know, I don't really know exactly. But in that time, we've never directed our administrators or our schools to do specific work in their collaboration time. And now I'm asking you to help us have the power to do that. It's time. We need to direct our teachers to spend the time working on grading to develop that consistency that you all have told me you would like to have. I would also recommend that the committee, as it meets next year, continue to collect data from our teachers and get feedback on from all stakeholders, not just from teachers, but from parents as well, because we do want to start to see a change, a shift. It needs to be more consistent. And if we're not seeing that, then obviously we need to, as a district, talk about how do we make that happen. But I think that if I were to say that I've learned anything in this process, because I've been doing this work for a while. And it is that it has to come from the ground up. We have to give the structure for our teachers to be successful. We have to give them the time to do the collaboration. We have to give them the framework to make those decisions. And we have to create the expectations that they do that. But we don't just do that by creating a piece of paper that's an administrative regulation that says you shall. We need to say you shall, but we're going to give you all of the scaffolding and support to get there, kind of like we do with our students. I talked a lot. Do you want to say something?
You spoke very well. Rami and I have worked very closely for a long time on this, so I'm very passionate about it as well and excited to continue this process. So I hope that the committee accepts our recommendation to continue. Rami's right. I feel like we can't, every time we looked at being more specific in this AR, we stepped back to recognize that we need to make sure that our teachers are the experts. We have different content areas. There are different ways of looking at that content. And one document is not going to portray all of the needs of all of the content or all of the grade levels. So we really need to have our teachers involved in this process so they can give the guidance that we need them to give on what it looks like in each content area to be consistent and be fair across the district. And I think that along with this process comes that district-wide collaboration that I feel very passionate about, that's going to improve instruction. So not just improve consistency, but it'll improve our instructional ability and our assessments.
We talked in the committee that if the feedback we're getting from teachers, if they need more specificity in the AR, that we can always go back and revisit the AR at this time next year as we're working through this process. So it is great conversations. It was a good team committee that worked on this.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. I have a question. We want to bring everyone up to speed so that they're all, you talk about wanting professional learning for teachers. Will this be at the beginning of the school year?
Yes, yeah. So we have started developing 2 different professional learning plans. One for K-5, because like I said, they're going to go into Empower, but all of them will start the same in that we want teachers to have time to spend in the AR, to read it, to talk about it, to grapple with it. And then we'll spend some time with them. That's where it will start sort of diverging, right? Because we have to train our K-5 teachers on how to use their learning management system, and that's going to be ongoing throughout the year. And we've designated specific professional learning days for them to do that, in addition to PLC days to talk about grading. And then the secondary will do the same. It's just the topics will be a little bit different, right? Because we're already doing standard. We already have teachers utilizing standard.
The learning management system you're talking about, is that the Empower?
That's correct.
Does
Yes.
does that replace something that we're doing now, that system, or is it? I don't understand.
Kind of. It's parallel to a student information system, but which is Infinite Campus.
Right.
Right. But Infinite Campus doesn't go away because it collects all of our student data, including all the demographic data, parent data, assessment data. It's a database. A learning management system is a platform where teachers can grade, but also then store instructional materials. So as we move into Epic Learning and more teachers personalize instruction for students, all of their activities can also go into Empower. We're not going to start there because that takes time to build. We're going to start with just the grading, so it feels similar and familiar to teachers for what we're already doing with Infinite Campus. It's more transparent because from day one, if kindergarten teachers typically do a lot of assessments from the very beginning, they can start putting that information into Empower and parents can see it. Which the problem is now, parents can't see that until they get a grade report 12 weeks in.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? Doug?
We spent a lot of time going over and getting this, wordsmith to what we thought was the best thing. And you're saying you want to recommend the committee to continue, but it seems to me we're at a point where we need to, take this and let the teachers in the different groups run with it. And I don't see the committee necessarily sitting in those groups. I see that being, I guess I would think your guys' position to sit in and train them up and and see how this works before I'm just not sure what the committee would be doing. What would the committee do next
Right.
year?
And I just think that in my opinion, it might be nice to have a thermometer check. I don't know that they would have to meet monthly like we did this year, but maybe, you know, once a quarter or once a trimester, just to sort of get a gauge of how it's going, to make sure that we're moving this work forward. We all, you know, 31 years in this profession, we get busy and we sometimes lose sight of that goal. And I feel like having that committee's oversight and continuing on just to do sort of that temperature check creates that that accountability to make sure that the work is moving forward.
I think that would be my recommendation, is maybe we do it at the end of the semester or maybe twice a semester. So we can, you know, at that, you know, we could have a survey put out and then we could look at the survey results and, you know, rather than necessarily every month. I think we need to go to a point where
I
I
don't disagree.
Teacher group.
Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend.
Member Engelkirk, you and I are on the same page. I just wanted to put it out there because I do think the work is not done. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
A comment, and I think that the accessibility of the progress of the child through records like that we didn't have an infinite campus is going to be huge.
Yeah, that's a whole, I could stand here and talk to you for an hour about how excited I am about that, but I won't.
But
do that
Ross
to you
won't
guys.
let you.
I know.
All righty.
He's like, you're good, Ron.
All right. Okay, so this is for possible action. Does someone want to make a motion? Oh, do you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
This came about, like Rami said, this was back from May of last year.
Correct.
And I was on the committee. I liked being on the committee. What we came up with was not anything what I was hoping to come up with when we started. Learned a lot in the process of challenging, you know, why do we do things? And there were multiple times I had questions about, you know, why does this take place? I think we should do it another way. And there were great answers of why we do it that way. So there are far more complexities. I think Doug and Heather, who are on that, there are a ton of complexities. I wish we could come up with a single just, here's how we have a consistent grading across the district. I don't think it's possible. Like, literally don't think it's possible. I think this is a great start. And I love the idea to keep the committee going because it does keep the accountability instead of just letting it fall away. You know, it's going to stay on it's going to stay in the forefront, which I think needs to happen. And then I had an experience just the other day that I thought kind of, I don't know if I'm coach one of my kids' volleyball teams. And as we were leaving the game, she said to me, well, tell me how I did. And I said, you played pretty well. And she's like, no, but I want to know exactly the different things how I did. And I realized that I gave her a grade. I gave her like a B+. You did pretty well. And she didn't want that. She wanted to know what exactly she did well, what exactly she could do better on. And I realized that's exactly what this is, what this committee and the standards reference-based grading is going for, is to give people, to give students, give parents detailed information on what's going on. Like in volleyball, if you're a B+, you could be a terrible server and an excellent spiker and bumper, but you know, like, how would you know? So I appreciate the work that was done there. I love that we want to keep going. I have just a little bit of concern or question on what we are doing as a board today. I'm a big fan of the board doing what it should be doing and not doing what it shouldn't be doing. We're supposed to accept the plan for professional learning for teachers on standard-based grading for K-5. And I don't know why the board's doing that. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think that the reason why we've got a new recommendation in front of you is the the direction last year was to have a plan put in place by the start of next year. We're not,
I see.
we didn't meet your goal.
I
We
see.
didn't meet the,
Well, no.
technically the expectations. So
I
we're,
don't know.
well,
I think we kind of did. I
we
mean,
got,
it's not
we
exactly.
got close, but I think we realized that we're not ready to fully implement something and we need to do more work of reconvening the committee. We've recognized that we need to do more training as a district. And so I think that's why this is in front of you today, is to.
I can see that. I personally think that we can say, great job, Rami and committee, keep going without any action. Because I don't think this is board action. Just, you know,
I think you guys have done a great job.
On behalf of Shannon and Leslie, I think they would appreciate that, but. She's just.
it looks like you can.
So do we?
So-
Down to, trust of the board. You trust that your superintendent's going to continue this work and get it done. That you don't need to take board action and direct me. I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to.
I guess what we could do, I don't know if it's agendized, but we could just set up a standing committee, a standing board committee. But I don't know if it's agendized
Is
for
it,
that.
don't we already have that committee?
It
So
already is.
could we just keep it going? Like, we don't have to end it. It could just continue to be
And
going.
not every month, just.
Yeah.
As
needed.
needed.
She said at the end of the first semester.
Right.
Get the feedback and then see what happens.
And there was nothing in the original that said we had to meet every month.
No, I was just gonna
So
say that,
it's-
Heather, yep.
It's open, and when she feels we need to meet, we'll meet. But we can just say, you guys have done a great job so far, keep moving forward. Is that right? And just kind of,
Or do we need to say something since we're changing? plans? Or,
So
I don't think we do.
just for reference, that the motion that we're working off of is move that the board form a committee comprised of district and site administrators, primary and secondary teachers, parents, students, and 3 board members to create a standardized district-wide grading system in accordance with AR 513 to be implemented by the 2022-2023 school year, seconded by Ms. Jackson. I mean, we are implementing this by next year, right?
Correct.
I think it's great. I mean, if Rick would say it's okay, then I would make a motion that we thank everybody, Rami and those on the committee for doing a wonderful job. And to continue with the committee at a time interval as you find proper. Is that okay? Are we noticed for something like that?
Just go ahead and make the motion.
Really not that thing to make a motion.
I guess we can. I just, now we have a board motion. Yeah. I don't know.
Let's do something.
Okay, I mean, we're not creating board policy here with this recommendation.
Nope.
Yeah. Sure, okay. I make a motion that the board accept the plan for professional learning for teachers on standard-based grading K-5 and standards reference grading K-12 in the 2022-2023 school year with the intent of creating consistency in district-wide grading. And that's the end of my motion. And I thank you guys for the hard work that you put in and just everything that you're trying to do to make things more consistent and better for our kids.
Second.
Have a second? Second.
I would
by-
second that motion.
Thank you. Any public comment? Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. State your name for the record.
John Enter for the record. I just want to state real quick, the standard-based grading is amazing. But one of the things that I've noticed is, especially with folks like the one that talked during public comment, there's a lot of people that don't understand what a quote standard is. And Rob said his analogy was spot on. And when you all talk to constituents out there in the community, one thing you have to do is explain to them, you know, first, what is a standard? That analogy that Rob just said, you know, it's you're playing well. Well, what does that mean? Okay, you're really good at serving, but you're not really good at, you know, spiking or whatever it might be. So it took me a while when I first started in this school district. I didn't know what a standard was, and they were talking all the standard-based grading things and everything. I mean, when I went to school, we didn't have standards. I'm sure there was something, but as a student, I had no idea. But when we as a group started breaking down a quote standard, all of a sudden it hit me exactly what it meant by standards-based grading. So there's a lot of parents out there that just don't understand that. And they think, oh, I need an A or a B or a C. They don't understand what standards are and how it gets applied. So I just wanted to say that and just remind people sometimes that we get into that education speak and don't understand what other people might be thinking.
Thank you. All right, a motion was made. Do we have a second?
I did.
Oh, you did, sorry. Any more public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. And thank you to you guys and to everyone that was on the committee. Rob, I did love your analogy as well. I'm a
Great
picture
analogy.
person, and
Thank you, everybody.
that helps me. All right, we need to take a, just keep going, or where you go, Mr. Lewis?
Take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, you know what? Let's just take a, I've got a standard. You're going to be wheeling me out of here. So let's take a 5-minute break, okay? Maybe 7 minutes till 6:30. Next, we on? We're good? Okay. Next on our agenda is item number 18, measure of academic progress, which is also known as MAP, presentation by Mr. Brian Frazier. And he's going to give us a quick overview of the MAP. Thank you.
So this is in response to a request by you that you receive at least a quick overview, again, of the measure of academic progress assessments. They are going to base this on, since you've had it in your folder for a week or so, that you've read it and absorbed it. So I'm not going to read this word for word for you. However, MAP assessments are developed by the Northwest Evaluation Association. We've been using a form of these for actually over 30 years. I've been in the district for 26, and it was already here when I got here. So however, back in that day, it was paper pencil, and it was actually kind of an exciting and intriguing assessment level geek out type of assessment that we had at the time. So now it is presently a virtual electronic format that is, you'll find out here, is computer adapted. So what is it? We provide it to our students. John told me there was a delay here. He didn't say that I had to push the buttons to engage the delay. So MAP growth is provided to students basically 3 times per year. We utilize it especially in the winter time to provide continuous progress monitoring for students, especially those that are receiving interventions and targeted supports, though we can assess all students during that time frame if we so desire, if the need is there. Reading, math, science, and language are the assessments that we have. They're available growth tests. Reading and math provided to students in grades K-9, science 6-9, and the language is optional. Your test duration is approximately 45 minutes, though that will vary by student and grade level, again, since it is a computer adaptive assessment. For each question that a student answers correctly, the next question is a bit more challenging, as with all computer adaptive assessments. For those that are answered incorrectly, the next question is a little bit easier. So if you look at it this way, you're basically, you're trying to get down to this point here. So correct answers, incorrect answers, and you're basically channeling that down. So you're going to be finding what is called the zone of proximal development, or basically where a student is ready to learn. So it's not an achievement test. You think about the CRTs, the criterion reference tests. Those are achievement tests. We call them terminal assessments. They're done at the end of. So it's a summative assessment. I'll get into a little bit of that later on. This one is considered a formative interim assessment. So it's providing you some information along the way. So again, correct answers, incorrect answers, and you're trying to narrow that down. Where is the student ready to learn? If I can chew gum and present at the same time here. So the map, basically, I refer to as a soup to nuts assessment too. So while it is aligned to standards, it is also inclusive of a very thorough body of knowledge. So again, soup to nuts. So what we're trying to find out is, again, what a student knows. And we look at it as one additional data point that we use within the classrooms and use within the schools to be able to determine both some level of achievement, but also growth for students over a span of time. The scale that's used is called a ROSH unit, R-I-T, a RIT unit. It's an equal interval scale. What that means basically is if you take a meter stick or a yardstick and hold it up there, that's an equal interval scale. 1 meter to 2 meters to 3 meters and so on is the same as going up and down with the RIT units itself. So 185 to 186 and so on. Teachers can use the overall RIT score and strand scores, which are the sub scores, and I'll show you what that is in a minute, to inform their instruction. It helps with their personalizing their learning of students. And students can use the scores to help set their own learning goals. Again, I keep going back to it as one data point. We use this with multiple other data points to inform and kind of get that best rounded picture of what a student knows and is able to do. For a given MAP growth score, students who will have answered questions at or near that score roughly about 50% of the time. So you heard me say repeatedly, where is the student ready to learn? So approximately at that point, that's where we call develop. And develop is where we want to start instruction on a concept because they're able to answer those questions approximately 50% of the time. Lower RIT score questions will typically be answered more frequently, higher RIT score questions less frequently. And then we also have some reports that provide tools on concepts and strands that can be reinforced. So reinforced is basically where they're going to be looking at answering questions roughly 75% of the time. So I know this, but I need to reinforce it periodically. And then we have other things that are introduced, which is where they're answering questions roughly about 25% of the time. So the concepts that fall within those bands will make that determination of what a teacher or where the learning begins. It's either reinforced, it's developed, which is that 50% band, or it is introduced, which is that 25% band. That's new learning that occurs. So an example. There we go, cool. Okay, so this is the MAP Math 2 to 5 assessment. This is the measurement and data strand. I've given you two questions here, one within the 191 to 200 RIT band and the other one between the 211 to 220 RIT band. So you can kind of see it provides a question within that measurement and data component or strand, but there's two different RIT levels. So you can see where that question happens to be. Everybody answer the question right? Tony, I saw your hand go up. Got it. Good. All right. So here's one for MAP. This is the literary text, key ideas and details. I won't read all the content to you. You can go through that. But again, same concept within that literary text, key ideas and sample details. These are two different writ bands. However, it is addressing that strand concept within those two different levels within that area itself. And again, these are not computer adapted questions right here because you're not, if you answer it, you're not going up and down. This is a fixed component. So we get a little bit into reporting now. I'll give you an example here of a family report. There are various reports. There's a whole slew of reports actually that are available to teachers and administrators that can help inform parents of student progress. They can also, teachers and administrators, site personnel can include information on class overall performance, subject area information, where students might need additional interventions and support and so on. So the sample family report, let me go on here to the next screen. Boy, the wait time's great on this. Okay, all right. That's okay, that's where we're good. So the family report, this is a sample family report that's out there. This one is for a second grade student. It provides a brief Q&A of what the report shows. As you can see in the area, what is this report, what is map growth, and so on. So this provides some additional information for parents. A review of the definitions, so like achievement, what's growth, and then also what's a RIT score. And then in the following ones, it shows both a visual and the explanation of the data in chart form. So, for example, mathematics. This particular student's average achievement was within the 50th percentile. This was, I believe, this was winter of this year. And average growth, they were in the 42nd percentile. So basically, the 50th percentile means that the child scored better than 50% of their peers, their RIT area peers. For their growth, they scored better, made more progress than 42% of their growth cohort, basically, is what you're looking at. What I like about this one too is just the visual aspect of it. So you can kind of see that students are going up, they're going to recalibrate a bit and keep moving. I like the colored aspect on the growth because it kind of shows you here, where are we moving? We want to go into that green or blue range to the right. On reading, again, same concept. You can see they were in the 71st percentile in achievement and in the 67th percentile in growth. In the lower right-hand corner, I want to draw you down to something, and I'm going to go over that in a second here, is the indicator of the student based upon this information. This is a second grade student, so they won't be taking the CRT. But if they were to take the CRT, that they, based upon their scores and their progress, the indicator is that they would be proficient on the Smarter Balanced or the state CRT reading assessment for that particular grade level. We're not providing it the second grade, so that indicator is more towards a third grade. If the student continues to perform at this level, they're giving them an indicator of what could be based upon how they do here, how they might do on that other assessment. That's why we refer to a lot of the scores that we get here as indicators, not predictors of what they'll be doing. And then the last section of the parent report is how can I use this information to help my child? So it gives them a series of questions, thoughts about what they might do, where they can initiate conversations with teachers and so on about how to provide additional assistance at home for their child. There's also another one, again, just sample, there's a bunch of them out there, but there's a student profile report. This one's more of an interactive report. I don't have it here to be interactive with you, but let me show you some screens at least. It can be, it's basically, it can be utilized by staff. It could be used also in a meeting with parents because you can bring that information up and start to vary some, how the report might look. So let me give you an example of that. So it can be expanded to provide teachers with additional information on the introducing, developing, and reinforcing concept. It can be presented by both concept and standard itself. So I'm showing you on the, well, there'll actually be a couple screens down here. This is the way that the chart looks. Again, love the color. Do that for Mr. Lewis's benefit. You're welcome. You can kind of see again how the student progressed over the years for the various test administrations. And then it's also showing kind of a projected score, again, based upon trajectory, Where is the student starting? Where is the student going? Where they might end up in, for example, spring of 22. So this was the last assessment here was this last winter. They're projecting that that same trajectory might take that student up a little bit higher. I'm guessing probably it's about 190-ish, give or take. And then there's some additional information that can be gathered from this. So some comparisons. Again, we saw the 42nd and the 50th percentiles for growth and achievement. The partial understanding, this would be for math. If they were to have taken the state CRT, which again will be another year off for this particular child, through second grade. And then the strands, you heard me talk about strand information, and I've given you some examples of questions within various strands within both the math and the reading subtests. So you can see that this child's overall RIT score was a 184. But there's instructional areas, operations and algebraic thinking of a 175 RIT score, and then geometry, measurement and data, and numbers and operations of 188. So we see that the student has done well or has more knowledge presented in those three strands versus the operations and algebraic thinking, which is why they have it up there is starred as suggested area of focus. Rather than just looking at one overall RIT score, let's break it down a little bit further. What kind of strands within the mathematical concept might we need to provide additional information on, or where we need to start to help shore things up? And again, as I mentioned earlier, you can expand the strands, the instructional areas. In this particular area, or this particular report screen, I just focused on developing, which is again where the student is ready to learn. We can look at reinforcing. How did they do there, and what we might go back and look at, or if we want to start introducing some information, where would we logically start? Over on the right-hand side, this is just an inset that I put. So again, they can be presented by topic, which is what I'm giving you to the left, or standards. So they'll actually bring up the Nevada academic content standards for this particular item with that correlation. It can be shown then through a different lens, and this is the interactive nature of this particular report, to be shown for reinforcing, developing, or introducing information. The strands at the bottom, I wanted to give that to you: operations and algebraic thinking, the numbers and operations, measurement, data, and geometry. Again, the focus here would be that the student start in that operations and algebraic thinking, because they were just a tad bit lower. They might have some holes in that area or some gaps in their learning. We want to fill those so that they can keep progressing forward. So an indicator table, you're in your, now let me just kind of jump to it. The indicator table is something that we put together with the assistance of the MAP norms, the student achievement percentiles. So again, very small. You can look at the one that you have in your packet to show you. This is just the reading and the math sections for these two items. We provide folks with a fall, winter, and spring indicator based upon for K1-2, the student is at or above roughly about 69th percentile for grades K2. The percentile will vary for grades 3 through 9 and by the content itself. So grades 3 through 9, this is based upon the NWEA MAP norms, the student achievement percentiles. Where that takes us is that they've done a linking study between the MAP data, millions of kids that have taken the MAP data, and how they might do and how they actually have done on the smarter balanced assessment tests. And so they're basically saying here is that if you have roughly a score in this range, that's an indicator of how you might do at the proficient level on the SBAC assessment. And so those vary by grade level, and they vary by content area too. In some areas, it might be the 54th percentile. In other areas, it might be the 70th percentile. It just varies based upon that linking data itself. For grade 9, the scores of both the math and reading RIT correspond then to the ACT, how the students might do on the ACT of getting, they're projecting based upon a score of greater than or equal to a 22 on the ACT in each of those 2 assessments. So the use of the results. Holler, Ross, if you want me to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, get to it.
I figured you were good. So really, basically, the use of the results is contingent upon what do you want to do with the data? How do you want to utilize it? So a teacher's going to utilize it in some fashion. The administrators are going to utilize it in another fashion. You want to present it to parents so that they know and understand how their child is doing, at least on this particular data point. So it's part of a comprehensive assessment system. You heard me say that. It is one data point. You've got formative assessments, you've got common assessments, you've got interim assessments, you've got summative assessments. I look at MAP data as being a formative interim assessment. It informs instruction, it helps to monitor student learning, but it also is provided throughout the year at specified intervals. It is connected to standards and content, and it can be used to guide learning and growth. Okay, so to me, that it basically straddles both formative and interim assessment tools. Your CRT, the criterion reference test, is a summative assessment. It's done at the end. It provides basically reflective data for teachers because they can't use it to inform instruction for students that they have this year. MAP data can be used to inform instruction this year. The students that are right there in front of them can be used to measure growth. Common assessments is something that we really need to be further developing because those are things that are developed by our teachers, by content area and grade level teachers that connect to standards, and they're administered periodically throughout the year based upon the units or based upon the topics that are being done. That is immediately informing instruction. It's what happens in the classroom. It gives teachers real-time data on how to move forward. So, questions?
I have just one. I just wanted to know, thank you for the presentation. And I just wondered, do MAP scores have any, is it any reflection of or a grade for teachers? Do they use it at all to grade teachers to say, oh, you've done well because your kids all raise their scores by a lot? I just wondered if it has any, or is it just looking at what students?
I've been at it for 26 years and I haven't used it in that capacity. I might use it as back as a site administrator. I will look at all the data, and if I see a trend where student performance is relatively flat over a period of time, we may have a discussion, but it's not done in isolation.
Right.
Typically, it would be MAP scores
One
plus
data point.
X plus Y plus Z, all coming together to say, hey, your kids are lagging continuously every single year, but not done in isolation. So
I have a question.
likewise, you do that on the flip side too. Hey, your kids are knocking it out of the park. And again, there's multiple indicators that are showing that. So, but it's not part of any PF or anything like that. So.
Would this also help us, like when you keep hearing about learning loss? And like in this case, for example, going a little bit backwards in learning?
Yeah, and I think overall, based upon the baseline data, for those that you were in the strategic plan meeting, you heard us talk about, we had a couple of years. Spring of 20, we had no assessments. I mean, we shut down in March. Our spring assessments went away. Started back up again in the fall, the winter, and the spring of the 2021 school year. But again, we're starting to look at this over from the state standpoint. Everybody started at a different spot. 17 school districts plus the state charters. Everybody started at a different point. So there was really no consistency or validity to those scores, but we got them. We know where those are. So the MAP data, we provided those to kids. And as you're saying, right now, especially in this school year, the 21-22 school year, I look at this as baseline data.
Sure.
Where are our students now? Where are they beginning to learn or ready to learn? Looking at it comparatively, because you've seen the longitudinal scores over time. Where was Jimmy the last time he took the test? Where is Jimmy now? He might not have gone on that trajectory up, but he might have.
Yeah.
And we can't forecast him on where he might have been. But I look at this year's baseline data. We'll collect it, we'll analyze it. The schools will utilize it. It's certainly great for providing input on interventions and supports, but also we will be looking at it then for the school's doing and the kids doing moving forward, not just MAP, state CRTs and everything else.
Do we usually do all three MAP testing for our students?
The winter, basically what's required is the fall and the spring. Winter, if you're providing interventions to students, because again, you want that fall, winter, spring type of trajectory growth. Winter, I particularly like just in general, because I think it's a better of the indicator that I mentioned to you of how are kids going to do possibly on that state CRT. So I'll ask the administrators, hey, how are your kids going to do on the CRT? They should be able to say, based upon winter MAP scores, this might be what happens, or we have some holes here. We seem to be strong in this area. Math has me worried. They seem to, whatever it happens to be, just one indicator, one data point, but it provides something to say, hey, based upon this, they could be doing there, or we're really going to have to fill some holes moving forward.
Do
So
we follow this as a district, or in other words, we can offer it 3 times? Are
Yes.
there some teachers that do it 3 times and others
Yes.
that don't?
yes,
So it's not a district policy or anything that everyone does it 3 times?
fall and
Fall and spring are required of everyone, but not winter.
right. And
Okay.
and language is optional. So it's the reading and the
Okay.
math
Okay.
grades K9, and then the science grade 6-9. The read by grade 3 legislation utilizes the MAP scores in reading K3.
As a parent, I loved getting the map. I couldn't wait to get the map results because I love to look at them and see, how you can help, how I could help my children where they were falling down or whatever. So I thought I like this. I like this testing.
Well, Mark was just telling me a few minutes ago that he looks forward to being able to provide you with a report in the future on some of the additional data points and how they can be used to help inform. So things like reading fluency and map accelerator and so on. Did I set you up all right?
We'll be looking for that. Okay. Is there any other questions?
I'd like to thank you for the presentation. That it's
That was his-
really easy to see how important these tests are. And, parents wonder about all the tests that are administered, and this one is a good one. Thank you.
It's very useful. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. All righty. We'll move on to item number 19. And it's the presentation on the district's action to support the Nevada Board of Education 5-year goals. And we'll have Superintendent Lewis and Ms. Cronin back.
All right, this is a board item that was requested by trustee Jackson. I don't know who it was seconded by, but it was a request for a presentation in terms, and yeah, Rami's with me here. What the district was doing to address the state goals that were established by the State Board of Education. So just quickly, I guess I am the just to make you aware what those goals are. Their goal, first goal was move from top 20 to top 10. So move up in the state rankings from 18th in K-12 achievement in September of 2020 to the top 10 by July of 2026. And the second one was to improve to a 50% of our students achieve a college and career ready diploma. And so to increase that from 23.9%, which it was in July of 2021 to July to 50% by July 2026. I think importantly, it's again, we've had the discussion as a board that a lot of people like to come here in front of you and throw out when they feel they're insulting us that we are the last in education in the nation. And we hear that a lot in the state of Nevada. And while there is some truth to that in terms of rankings, what is really important, what Heather has really tried to talk about is that those rankings involve a lot of things that we don't control as a school district. We don't control how we're financed. We don't control a lot of the chance for success indicators that are looking at families and their education levels and so forth. And so we are proud as a state that we have moved from 40 to 18. And obviously this goal is designed to continue moving in that direction. And so again, I just gave you a quick, I won't read it. I am going to trust that you have looked at this prior to the meeting, but it just lays out the indicators that what they look at to measure K-12 achievement in that quality counts measure. Not to be flippant, and I don't put this, but I do think that we need to keep in context that Douglas County is only 1.2% of the state's entire enrollment. So in some capacities, we as a district will not have a huge dent on this. But again, it doesn't mean, this is one of those goals to me that I think that everything we do should be designed towards improving the quality of education and achievement in schools, as I'm flipping through the wrong direction. John, can you get me back to the right slide? So again, I think that our main thing is that we believe strongly in quality instruction paired with effective evaluation. Those two go hand in hand. And again, we have made that move to Epic Learning to increase the quality of education, which ultimately we would make this move if we don't believe it's ultimately going to impact our academic achievement with our focus on the standards. So our instructional model, focused on a positive culture, learner-centered, and responsive instruction. All three of those are obviously, again, designed for that. We believe very strongly that for years, we've kind of allowed teachers to choose which standards are most important to them. And so through Epic Learning and the development of modern curriculum, that identifying what every teacher should be teaching at a certain grade level or within a certain content area, so that no matter what classroom a child is in, they're being exposed to the same material, which again should align with the assessments of which we're ultimately being evaluated in terms of academic success. I think that obviously we've put a lot of supports, and the ESSER money has provided us more opportunities than ever to build in additional supports that are all designed to get kids to school. And if we can't get them to school, we can't educate them. And so again, there are things going on far from a classroom that also impact our ability and our academic achievement as a district. So several of them were sitting here tonight: social workers, school counselors. Those are all very, very important to get kids into the building and work with families. Our Epic instructional coaches have been very impactful. And I think that teachers would tell you that they have had a positive impact within the classroom already. We obviously commit a lot to our professional learning program for new teachers. I think it's something that we probably don't promote it as much as we should for new hires that are coming to our district and the investment that we put in them. Recently in our ESSER, we've hired a graduation specialist. That is Kira Brown, who was formerly a counselor at Douglas High School. She'll be working to target middle school and high school students that are at risk of graduation. And so we will have a specialist targeting attendance, and we'll also have one that's looking to build connections and to provide supports and opportunities for kids to increase that graduation rate. Obviously, the career and technical education coordinator, the investment there to build those programs, the inclusive education compliance coordinator is also important. Moving forward, obviously, the strategic plan develops a vision for us and where we're going as a district that will guide us. School and district improvement plans, and I'll talk a little bit more in my goals. The school performance plans are, this is our first year of implementation. We will be implementing next year, the district, developing our first district performance plan under the new guidelines. And those are all heavily focused on data that help us make decisions on where we need to go. Our inclusive education philosophy, we didn't rename special services to inclusive education just to be cute. There is a purpose behind that. And the purpose is we want people to understand that every student is all of our students. There's not regular ed students and special ed students. They are all our students. And we have a very inclusive environment here in Douglas County and always have. And I think our students in special ed have always achieved at some of the top levels in the state because of that philosophy that we implement in kindergarten. Learning forum and professional development for all. And again, all staff. We don't just provide professional development to our teachers, because everyone has an impact on our students, no matter what role they have. And then obviously financial commitment. Again, I think that we have made decisions, and ESSER would be a perfect example. We take seriously that, there's potential gaps in learning, and how are we going to target that? And we're going to invest that money into services and people that will support our kids. And so that's kind of how we're targeting goal number 1. And I'll stop there for questions, and then I'll move on to goal 2.
Anyone have any questions? Heather?
I do. I have to just, for the record, let everybody know that this was seconded by Ross.
That is very valuable information right now.
Oh my God.
Okay. Sorry, Karen told me that. I was like, oh. I just had one quick question about the graduation specialist. Is that only for those that are looking like they're not going to graduate, or is that something that will also be available to those that are on course and looking, like, is it going to help everyone to help them find the college that's right for them? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I think the way we wrote the job description would be more targeting at-risk kids. Now, could that evolve over time? Certainly. Whenever you create a job, our vision was that, and especially targeting the middle school, we're starting to see more kids come out of middle school on academic probation, or, they're already deficient credits. And then I just start some behind the 8 ball already coming into high school. And so really targeting those kids and getting that support down there. So again, I think primarily we vision that out of the gate as an at-risk, looking at risk.
And to be honest, by taking those most at-risk students and really having one person in charge, it frees up the time of our other, because we do have counselors at every level, and they can spend more of that time doing that part of their job, the academic, when they're not doing as much of the responsive counseling. So that's really the intention, is that additional support for those,
There would still be counseling that are helping with graduation.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then just another question that goes along with the same thing, is that for all schools? So does she also work with the students at Wattel?
Yes.
And is, okay.
She will be district-wide. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And again, like I said, that will evolve. 2 years from now, Heather will be sitting here, and I'm sure the job description will look, as we learn things, and she's going to get into it and have some suggestions to us as well. So.
Any other questions? Seeing none, continue.
And goal number 2 is to achieve college and career ready diploma at 50%. Rami is our expert on a lot of things, and especially the variety of diploma types that we have in Douglas, in the state, not Douglas County specific, but basically the college and career ready is the requirements of that are to complete 24 units of credit. 18 of those have to be in the core content area, and 6 units of elective credit in approved courses. They need to have a 3.25 GPA or higher unweighted, and they need to demonstrate amongst the following: proficiency in 2 languages, or 2 units in AP courses, IB courses, dual credit courses, CTE courses, work-based learning. So there's a variety of different areas of which they can get those 2 credits. So then within that, you can be either college ready or career ready. Again, I gave you the criteria for that, and Rami and I can answer any questions on that. And I think one of the realizations is, I think this is, we've had to look internally, and we haven't done a great job of counseling students to this diploma. That we have been very focused on the honors diploma. And so in a lot of the 8th grade meetings, we're steering kids more like this may be a better option, with some maybe lack of understanding of really what that college and career diploma really means. And so I think our numbers were around 7%. So we're way low with the state. But we think through education, and Rami and Shannon have already started those discussions with our counselors to ensure that everyone understands what that is. I believe there's also there was also some lack of tracking, so not really considering that they qualified for that when we were putting information into our system. So I think some of that, Heather, is just cleanup and doing a better job of counseling on that front. I also think that our expansion of CTE, the fact that they're moving from a 3-year programs to 2-year programs will provide greater access to students, which will provide more opportunities for CTE courses. So I think, again, those are things that moving forward, and then I think that, our CTE program is pretty healthy at Douglas High School, but I wouldn't say as much at Whittel and Aspire and DNO. And those are our students. There may not be that many in those schools, but those, again, we've already had meetings, and how can we expand our CTE opportunities at Aspire? How do we expand them at Whittel? And we're having those conversations already with Gavin and Mark, and we'll continue to have them with Sean and Kate in the room of things that we can do to expand those programs. So Rami, do you want to expand anything on your thoughts from your chair on this?
We've talked about at some point the board might want to have a conversation about the honors diploma, because it is a little bit of a distractor. Not everybody in the state offers an honors diploma. Ours is, there's a lot of people who believe that we should keep it because it has a pretty high GPA requirement of a 3.6, and they have to take, I think, 5 AP courses over a course of their career in high school. So it's just something to consider. The advanced diploma, which is the base of the college and career level diploma. So you have to do everything that's in that top column. And the previous slide,
I'll see if I can
he
get back
switched
there.
it for me, but there we go. For the advanced diploma, we've also done some things differently. So this year, the freshmen rolling up from Pawalu and CBMS into Douglas, all of our freshmen are going to roll up with their graduation plans targeted at the advanced diploma, which is the baseline for the college and career diploma. They have to have those minimum requirements in that first bullet when he ever gets back to it. So that I think that will help us get more college and career ready, because we're setting them up just to work towards the advanced diploma, because that's what they have to do in terms of the actual requirements. And then on top of it, it either has to meet the ACT cut score for college, and then now they're changing the assessment potentially, so they'll have a different cut. But then or they have to do the career piece, which is that other litany of things. There's a lot of ways that students can earn that college and career diploma. And we, like Superintendent Lewis alluded to, that we haven't done a great job of tracking. We also have just had the state finally push out some of the resources within Infinite Campus to allow that tracking. So I think you're going to see an uptick this year, and it's going to just keep getting more and more because everybody more familiar with it. Plus, we've just started with every freshman is working towards the advanced diploma, which is the baseline instead of just a standard. We used to roll up a standard diploma, and now everybody will have the advanced.
Ross has a question.
This is not specifically for you, but part of it may be for Heather. I don't know. Where do they arbitrarily get 50%? Where'd that number come from?
I think just trying to get an increase, trying to,
I
I
know,
think it
but,
was,
I
but
mean, it's not
I've read
based on
through,
anything.
right. I've read through when they actually came up with that, like in their meeting, I did read the meeting, trying to figure it out, but yeah, I
It's
don't
an
know.
arbitrary number.
Yes, I agree.
I have another question just to tail off of that. How about when kids go to college? Are they going to know what these are? Are these just Nevada diplomas?
You have to remember that,
or
a lot of it, we all sometimes lose sight of the fact that children going to college are often accepted before their diploma is announced, right? Like, so it's really more about the diploma that says that than it is actually the college is accepting them or not accepting them based on that diploma type. So I don't believe colleges will do much unless maybe internally in our system, if the Department of Ed's able to have conversations with, Nevada system of higher education to get some sort of bonus for kids maybe who have that college ready diploma, but they already have minimum requirements for the ACT anyway, right? And there is a parallel. And then on top of it, students who meet certain level of ACT and a GPA then are also eligible for Millennium. So these all kind of go in the same path. So I don't see the diploma itself as being an incentive to get into any college, because you don't get awarded your diploma to complete your career, but you get accepted to colleges. Generally, most get accepted in April and make their decisions in May.
I just wonder though, when they see an honors diploma, that
We
will,
don't even know.
I don't think colleges, they don't see that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
we ultimately
you're
put it
saying.
on the final transcript, but kids apply for college generally in the first semester
Right.
of their
No, that's
senior year.
true.
So all of that material happens after.
So why are we doing all these different diplomas then? I'm confused.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Just, I think we've heard a lot of people saying we're watering down to graduate from high school, you
Mhm.
know, we lower the standards for everyone. And I think this is a way we're trying to raise the standards. Okay, we have a great graduation rate, but can we be preparing them more for their career? Can we be preparing them do better? Can we do better? And so, yeah, we have this, you know, this is what you need for a diploma, but is that enough? No, let's see if we can get them ready for the career that they want.
Some
And
kids
so,
are not going to want more.
but, right, well, but some of them are more the career path. So for example, we have a great welding
But-
program.
But can you tell me the methodology behind the 50% is what I'm asking.
So the 50%, I mean, that's just the Nevada state. And like we talked about at the beginning, we have 1% of the kids. We're not going to make a difference.
No.
So in my asking us to talk about this, it wasn't like, we need to help the state get to 50%. We need to help the state get in the top 10.
No.
But just, what can
just-
we do to achieve more?
I just want to understand the goal. The goal says 50%. Where did that come from? Did it come from up here on the moon, or did it come?
Nevada State Board of Education.
Yeah. But
I do suspect, Ross, that because they have similar goals in some of the title programs that I work with Title III, which is our English learners. They
Ross,
the
I don't
one-
think there's any science on goals,
I
even
di-
locally.
No, I just,
So-
I don't know. I disagree a little bit. I do think that they do generally do some sort of statistical analysis. When they set the goals for English learners, they did it based on stats. So
yeah.
there's probably some thinking behind it. We just weren't
But if they're
participants in
20
that process.
23%. Is this the whole state? 23%?
Yes, as a
Okay.
state, that's where we're at.
So
And
you're
in
asking-
5 years, we
you're
want to
asking-
be.
You're asking for in now it's just 4 years, 3 years, 4 years away. You're asking them to increase over 25%. That's
I think it's 5% per year, basically. It's where they're trying to get. These are 5-year goals, so.
All right.
Any other questions for Ron?
Can I just ask one question? You talked about promote CTE programs at all levels. How are we doing that kind of at the middle schools or even elementary schools? Is that part of it?
So I think, just recently, several years ago, we used to do an after-school program of our CTE for our 8th graders. And so we've revived that. So Cade, Mike supported that at Douglas High School. And so we were able to get several 8th graders over for an after-school opportunity to introduce them to CTE so that they know what's available when they come to Douglas High School. And that was very well received. And I think it's very beneficial. Again, when we talk all levels, looking at how can we expand, we've had some conversations about, is Edgenuity the long-term solution for Douglas, Nevada online? And we had some brief conversations. A lot of times our laws in Nevada can sometimes prevent out of the box thinking. But one of the, we had some discussions with Greenways Academy because they offered such an expansive CTE pathway for online learners and a lot more electives. That's not going to be an avenue we can go because of the lack of ability to necessarily recruit students. But through those conversations, I think, we've made the decision that we're going to expand that CTE through Edgenuity. And, we'll commit some more resources to Edgenuity moving forward to ensure those opportunities. Aspire always has some limitations because we don't own the building. And our, whether you may not even know this. I mean, there are some pretty significant limitations on our teachers in terms of how much wall space they can use in the classroom, because in the evening, WNC professors use that same space. And so, you know, I don't say that to complain, but there are limitations of what we could do. But we're having those conversations. How can we, you know, merge our Aspire kids and schedule differently to be able to provide maybe some opportunities where we bus them for that last class at the day so that they can take part in some of the programs at Douglas. So again, we're looking at it to try to expand and be more creative across the board.
And I'll add just that there are CTE pathways for middle school. So we've been working with our middle schools to start developing some of those courses at the middle level that would feed into our programs at Douglas High School or at George Hotel. And then additionally, as part of the work in Epic Learning, there's a community driver, and we have been building the foundation, but one of the next real strong areas that we'll be working in is this community driver to really start bringing career conversations all the way down to the elementary level so that students are beginning to really investigate careers much earlier on and have conversations as they move up through our system. So it really is bringing that attention, which will ultimately feed that diploma to the idea that we're not just trying to graduate kids to go to college, but for careers as well.
All right. Thank you, Rami. Good. That was just for information and discussion. All right, we'll move on to item number 20. And this is superintendent goals.
Cliff notes.
This can be as short as you want it to be. With that. I present my goals to you prior, and this can be more of a question. You know, I think it's pretty detailed in terms of what my goals are, what the priorities were. As I've gone through this, obviously it took some time to do, which is a good thing. It means that we're getting something done. And so really to me, you know, this can be however you want to. It's just an update on my goals. You'll evaluate me again in November, and I just kind of want to let you know where I am progress wise, and certainly can just answer questions.
I think you've done a lot in a short time under some extremely adverse conditions.
Second that completely. I read your report. I've got nothing else to ask.
Neither.
Didn't do it in vain.
Things you don't have to say it again. You wrote it. No need to say it.
So this again is just informational. So
Yeah, no, it's good. Keith, I concur. You have really, you know, worked hard, and you're getting out to the service clubs, you know, and I think that's a very important piece of your position. Not all superintendents were able to do those type of things, but I think you've gone above and beyond with you are in the schools all the time. And I think that's pretty awesome. So, and very approachable. That's one of the things I hear about you as a superintendent, that you are very approachable to your teachers and staff and employees. So I commend you for that.
And you know, we joke, it's a good joke. I mean, a lot of times your superintendent goals are the people who are sitting in the back of the rooms goals. And so, you know, the work that we have done and the work that is sitting here is the work of a lot of people. And, you know, as superintendent, you're a good superintendent if you have good people around you that do good work. And I'm very blessed and fortunate that we have quality people around me that do that. So I want to acknowledge that.
That's a good leader as well. They surround themselves with good people. So thank you.
Although they're all jumping off the ship. I look back there right now, and that's a sad row for me.
That's why they're hanging out so late. It's their last one. No. No. All righty. Well, then I guess I hope you don't feel you were shortchanged in doing all that work. I
don't feel
apologize.
shortchanged.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 21. And this is the superintendent contract extension. Per the agreement between the trustees of the Douglas County School District, on behalf of the Douglas County School District and Superintendent Lewis, the trustees shall meet in open public meeting between April 1st, 2022 and June 30th, 2022, to decide whether to extend the term of the agreement between the parties by 1 additional year. The board will discuss and possibly act to extend Superintendent Lewis's contract through June 30th, 2026. So let's have some discussion. Ross?
I'm good. I have no problem with extending it. I also think that we should consider, this was done 3 years ago, should possibly consider reopening this contract with some possible changes in language and compensation based on some things that have happened in the past 3 years that maybe aren't covered in the contract. And I was thinking maybe a couple of the board members could meet with the superintendent and discuss some things of mutual concern. I don't know how everybody else feels about it. I'm just throwing it out there.
If we extend your contract 1 year, that bring you to 2025 or 2026? Okay.
Sorry, I'm confused here. Are we extending your contract from 25 to 26?
Yes.
So put this part here about 20, where'd it go?
April 1st, 2022.
22 to June 30th, 2022. I'm not sure. That's just when we have to act on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
In my contract that annually, the board will consider between April and June at one of those 3 meetings, an extension of my contract.
Which is
Which-
always 3 years in advance of where we
Yes,
are.
yes.
Okay, I understand.
And then also, like you said, to open it up.
Well, I was just, I mean, I wanted some discussion on that. I would like to.
I'm in agreement with that. It's been a tough line to toe. And I think you've done an exemplary job, and I think we can have discussion on that.
Yeah, an additional item at the end here.
It'd be brought back to the board at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be item. whatever it is on here. Yeah, item 24, prioritizing items. Would that be what that would be for?
It could be,
It
or we
could be
could make
there.
a motion now and not put it on future. I mean, it will come. If we make if somebody makes a motion, we approve it and we vote to go ahead, then we don't need to put it on. We don't have to put
Well,
it
I
on the
think what
future.
Ross is talking about is something different than this. We can approve this as it is, which I don't have a problem with, but then you would do a future, prioritize a future agenda item where you would sit down and talk
We
with.
can do it either way. I don't care. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
we can do it that way, or we can do both at once.
yeah, because I'm gonna.
I think he was mentioning a small committee, a few of us
Right, that
working
would
on
be the
it.
additional.
Yeah,
agenda
so
item.
that's what we would do right now is say, yes, we're gonna have a small committee that's gonna talk about it more, and then it would come back to us to be approved after.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rob.
Is this committee a subcommittee that's gonna have a public
No,
meeting?
I'm
Or
I'm
we
just
just,
thinking just like maybe 2 people from the board, informal. Meet and.
Can
come
we
up
do
with
that?
some-
Well, how you would have to do it is negotiations with an employee organization. For example, I think what I'm hearing is appoint board members. Superintendent, that would be, call it a committee, a subcommittee.
It's an open meeting.
If you call it a committee or subcommittee, if you just have 2 board members.
Yeah.
The goal is to negotiate and discuss terms of employment. It's exempt from the open.
Oh, okay.
So on the other hand, if you create a committee.
Yeah.
Then you got.
We don't have a committee if there's 2 people. We have a committee if there's 3.
Regardless, I mean, you can,
Yeah.
you can have a committee of 1. Attorney General. Open meeting where I'm at. But,
Well, 1 person then.
I mean, I think it's better to frame it as appointing people
Discuss.
to negotiate terms and contract.
And are we,
Changing terms and conditions of the contract. I mean, I think you can renew it, but you can renew it a year now. You can vote to do that. You can also appoint people who negotiate on behalf of the district and discuss potential changes.
and do you think we're noticed to do that, to take that action of appointing?
Is to discuss, to decide whether to extend the term of the agreement, and then, I think you can add provisos to the extension.
Because it does say terms of the agreement, which,
Well, decide whether to extend the term of the agreement. We'll discuss possibly act to extend the. I mean, I think it's really. Right. Also.
I'm reading that a little bit different than you, but you're the lawyer.
I think you can do it, but if you're worried about it, you can put that in a different agenda item for next month.
That's fine if you want to do that.
I'd be happier with that, just to be safe.
That's fine with me. I don't care.
Just to do this right here and then talk about,
Yeah,
we could put future on the future agenda items.
Yeah,
I mean, we can just say right now that we're gonna bring it back. Yeah, we're fine. You can bring it back, but we don't need to put on future agenda items. You know that we want to do it, just do it.
Okay.
That's one of the ways you can do it. So. We done talking?
yeah.
I make a motion that we extend Keith's contract by 1 year.
Second.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this? Mr. Frazier?
Three minutes.
State your name for the record, please.
Frazier for the record. Thanks, Ross. I don't speak frequently, as you probably know, for those who've been around for a while. I am actually relatively infrequently here. Keith was the right person at the right time. Truly, I believe that. He came along at the exact time we needed him. We had a pandemic. He took the job in spite of the pandemic. He has facilitated communication. My gosh, he has just gone above and beyond in communicating not only between schools and within the school district, but also with the public. As again, the achievements that you were referencing earlier. We've had personnel issues such as just hiring. We're losing people, but we have gaps in certain areas. Now, granted, these are nationwide, but they also impact Douglas County. And I know that he is searching for solutions on how to address those issues. There's standards. We talked about standards just a few minutes ago with graduation rates, but there's other standards out there that we're trying to address to keep Douglas County a place to be, good learning for kids, a place to live. There's teaching and learning, the walkthroughs that have been done, the prioritization of looking at what is going on in the classrooms, and not just from the teaching standpoint, but what do the kids know? Why are they there? What do they know? Where do they project what they're doing? The leadership that he's provided to us as a leadership community, as a leadership folks, not just cabinet, but our administrators, our teachers, our classified employees. He's stepped that up. He's provided that. I'm motivated by them. Quite honestly, I stayed an additional year. Because I am. You need the consistency, folks. You've just acknowledged that. Take them out another year, okay? We are in the midst of moving forward with some very powerful items. Epic learning, a lot of the things that I mentioned earlier on this. You need Keith's consistency, you need his energy, you need his motivation. Let him build upon what he's started. He's taking a team, rebuilding again. That's part of being a strong leader, keeping the eye on the prize, and you as a board acknowledging that, not just now, but in the future, and maintaining that leadership at the top. That's critical for Douglas County School District's success. Did I keep it within 3 minutes, Ross?
14 seconds to go, buddy.
Darn, I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. Any other comments? I know, it's tough sitting here. Thank you. All righty, so let's bring it, motion was made, it was seconded. Let's bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. You're welcome.
Madam Chairman, I move
Yes.
to recess into closed session in order to discuss matters with its management representative pursuant to NRS 288.2204.
Second, not the chairman. You redo it.
What?
The president, not the chairman.
Oh, okay, President.
All right, and I have a second.
Second.
Okay, any public comment? Seeing none, we move into closed session.
Are we live?
Okay, we're calling this meeting back to order. Next on the agenda is item number 23, agreement between Douglas County School District and Douglas County Support Staff Organization for 2021 through 2024 for discussion and possible action.
All right. I would like to introduce Vice President of Douglas County Support Staff Organization, David Monachino. David, if you want to come up to the front, you can help answer any questions that may come up. So before you is a tentative agreement between Douglas County School District and the Douglas County Support Staff Organization. As we have come to terms with other employee groups, the majority of our employee groups, district agrees to fund a $1,075 in bonus that has already been MOU'd and paid to our classified employees. Salary schedule for 2021-22 is increased by 0.45%. Again, that's been approved and in place already. The salary schedule for 2021, we are proposing a 0.50% increase retroactive to July 1st, 2021 or August 1st, depending on what calendar they happen to be on. Our 260s are on a July 1st and most other classified employees are on an August 1st start year. So we would make that retroactive to the beginning of the year. This includes the 0.25% portion of the 2021 PERS contribution rate increase in lieu of the equivalent increase effective July 1st as well. Continuing on in financial terms, the district and DCSSO agree to step and column increases for 2022-23 and 2023-24. And there is a reopener if we identify additional funding for fiscal year 22. District agrees that we will offer to engage in negotiations. We have already agreed to an MOU with DCSSO on a health insurance premium increase of $70 a month, moving that from $635 to $705. Sick leave, we've added some additional language here where up to 15 days of accumulated sick leave will be granted as paternity leave for the birth of one's child, and up to 15 days of accumulated sick leave may be taken by a classified employee for the adoption of a child. Paid personal leave, we're going to change that language that personal leave cannot be taken during the first 5 days nor the last 10 days of the student contract year. David, I would like some clarification on this. I believe it's intended to say that personal leave cannot be taken during the first 5 days nor the last 5 days. Yeah, there's the round thing is strict in there. So it would be 5 and 5 on both ends to align with what we do with other employee groups. Paid personal leaves, the support staff employees may accumulate up to a maximum of 10 days of paid personal leave, increasing that from what is currently allowed of 4. And that they, for each unused day in excess of 8 days available, that they would be paid out at 51% of the hourly rate multiplied by the number of hours worked per day. Terms of the agreement, this agreement would be from 2021 to July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2024, again with some reopeners in there. Fiscal impact, the bonus would cost the district $321,425. Again, that's already been paid. 0.5% salary increase would be $56,090. $70 per month health premium increase is $201,600. And the step in column would be $162,129. So are there any questions? David, anything additional to?
Okay, I'd go ahead and move the agreement with Douglas County Support Staff Organization for 21, 20 through 24 be approved.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Rob. Is there any public comment? Anything online? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, David.
6-0.
Thank you, David.
6-0.
Or 6-0,
Sorry,
yes.
Doug left. Sorry. 6-0.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Sorry you
Sorry.
had to stay with us for
I
so long.
know.
Sheesh, that was a long time for that.
You guys can skip this presentation.
I know. Item 24, prioritizing agenda possible items for future board meetings for discussion and possible.
We can take off number 1. We did that
Yes, we
tonight.
did.
And we take off
Number
number
four.
4. And I just want to make the, I want to look for a second for considering reopening the contract and possible negotiation with language and compensation for the superintendent of schools. I'd like to have a board member or two appointed to negotiate.
Second.
I'll second that. But who?
We'll talk
We're
about it
gonna
next
discuss
meeting.
it next meeting.
We'll just put it on this and then we'll discuss it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's fine.
All right. Anything else that we wanted to add to our agenda? I mean, yeah, requests for future agenda items. All right, we're done with that. Have to have our final public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Meeting. I did. Oh, he shook his head no to me though. Okay. He told me no. So there is no public comment. Meeting adjourned.